Chapter 42:11. Looking at the painful Neptune. To be honest, if it were anyone else, they would definitely sympathize with him. But facing Neptune, Qin Feiyang and the others really couldn't sympathize with him. This was because the Sea King would not have shown any mercy if it had been them instead. "Where's your brother?" The madman looked at Long Qin. "Over there." Long Qin looked to the west of the Devil's Land. The madman followed her gaze and saw a white figure sitting cross-legged in the medicine field thousands of miles away. Who else could it be but Long Qin? At this moment, Long Qin's body exuded the power of time. Obviously, he was fusing with the ultimate meaning of the time law. Let's not disturb him now. Long Qin was a little hesitant. She knew the madman's purpose was nothing more than to let her brother help to seize the ultimate meaning now. A long night is fraught with dreams. The madman sighed. Long Qin nodded. It made sense. After all, Neptune and the others were too strong. If they didn't get rid of them quickly, it was hard to guarantee that there wouldn't be any accidents. "I say, don't tell me you really killed all the beast venerables of the beast race." The white-eyed wolf glanced at Long Qin and asked, "One must know. These beast venerables all mastered the ultimate meaning. Even if it was just the ultimate meaning of an ordinary law, it was still very valuable. Do you really think I'm stupid?" Long Qin glared at the white-eyed wolf. With a wave of her jade-like hand, a huge barrier appeared in the void next to her, suppressing countless remnant souls inside. Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other. They really thought that Long Qin had killed all the beast venerables of the beast race, so they didn't ask. But they didn't expect that she would take out so many remnant souls now. It was estimated that there were at least tens of thousands. These are the beast venerables of the beast race. As for the other beasts, I didn't leave any alive. Long Qin said lightly. Qin Feiyang and the madman couldn't help but give her a thumbs up. Other than beast sovereigns and beast gods, beast emperors and beast kings were of little value to the beast clan. There are so many members of the Sea clan and the Beast clan. It's hard to imagine how many ultimate mysteries we can obtain. The white-eyed wolf whispered. Whether it was the ultimate profundity of ordinary laws or the ultimate profundity of supreme laws, they were all just numbers in their eyes. The only regret was that none of the beast race and sea race had grasped the law of life and death. Otherwise, he would have really profited. Yu Lao has the law of light and darkness, right? Madman suddenly looked at Yu Lao. Yu Lao's eyes trembled when he heard this. Was he trying to steal the ultimate profundity of the laws of light and darkness? What? Now, even your old life belongs to us, let alone your ultimate profound. White-eyed wolf sneered at Yu Lao. "Kill me." Yu Lao roared. "I'm sorry, but it's hard for you to die now." White-eyed wolf bared his teeth, causing Yu Lao to fall into the abyss of despair. "Last time, we obtained 5 laws of light and darkness. Me, White-eyed wolf, senior brother, Little Qin, and Long Chen 1 each. Then, who are we going to give you Lao's law of light and darkness to?" Qin Feiyang looked at the 3 of them and asked. "Give it to me," Long Qin said. White-eyed wolf and madman were taken aback and turned to look at Long Qin suspiciously. "Didn't you already have it? Why do you need it?" "Just give it to me." Long Qin didn't explain. The 2 looked at each other. Long Qin seemed to only have one relative, Long Chen. Now that Long Chen and Long Qin had it, who were they preparing it for? Longzuan. Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. Longzuan? The 2 of them were taken aback for a moment, then patted their heads and suddenly realized, that's right, it must be prepared for Longzuan. Because the laws of light and darkness were very difficult to fuse. There was almost none in the sky cloud realm. "You don't have any objections, right?" Long Qin looked at the 3 of them. "How dare we have any objections?" Madman smiled bitterly and nodded. "Okay, I'll give it to you." They still had to count on Long Chen's help. If Long Chen was unwilling, it would be useless no matter how many people they captured. That's more like it. I'll go and drag Big Brother here now. Long Chen smiled proudly and turned to fly toward Long Chen. White-eyed Wolf pursed his lips as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't say it. Brother Wolf, what's going on between you and Long Chen? Madman was curious. It's nothing. White-eyed Wolf waved his hand. Brother, are you still hiding something from us? Madman's face darkened. There must be something wrong here. Cut the crap. White-eyed Wolf glared at him and looked at Long Chen's back. There was also an indescribable emotion in his eyes. Madman looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang shrugged helplessly. He didn't know anything else, but he had already discovered one thing. These two enemies who had been quarreling endlessly had stopped quarreling in the past few days. This was quite rare. After a while, Long Chen dragged Long Chen over. Can't you let me master the will of the heavenly Tao first? Long Chen looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two unhappily. There were all kinds of ultimate profound meanings, but why was it so difficult to master the will of the heavenly Tao? This little sister was the same. It hadn't been long, but she had colluded with Qin Feiyang and the others and didn't consider him as her big brother at all. Thank you for your hard work. Madman smiled flatteringly. Long Chen rolled his eyes. If it weren't for Qin Feiyang helping him shamelessly get dozens of divine tea trees from Master Jizhou, he really didn't want to do these troublesome things. Let's begin. Looking at the remnant souls suppressed in the two barriers, Long Chen's eyes were filled with helplessness. This was another big project. Qin Feiyang also quickly called Qiao Shui, Li Zhongxing, and Old Poison over to assist Long Chen. Madman asked, Old Qin, what are your plans next? I plan to. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and said, right now we have to think of a way to protect the human race, the god race, and the purple gold divine dragon race. Protect them? Madman and White-eyed Wolf looked at each other. What did he mean? This time, the sea race and the beast race are almost wiped out. However, although the experts of the human race, the god race, and the purple gold divine dragon race were seriously injured by us, there are no casualties. Faced with this situation, what do you think the Central Dynasty's emperor will think when he finds out? Qin Feiyang's brows were filled with worry. That's right. Neptune, the dragon god, the sea gods, and the beast gods were all captured by us. As for the king and the others, we only heavily injured them. This seems to be a little biased. The Central Dynasty's people aren't stupid. When they see this situation, they might suspect the king and the others. Madman frowned. So we have to think of a way. Qin Feiyang lowered his head, his eyes flickering. What way? We can't just run over and capture the king and the others. White-eyed Wolf asked. I think it's possible. Since the Black Tortoise world is so big, the core members of the three races should be able to survive in the Black Tortoise world. Madman nodded. In other words, on the surface, we captured the core members of the three races, but in reality, we let them enter the Black Tortoise world to hide their strength and recuperate? White-eyed Wolf said. Yes. Madman replied. We haven't reached that step yet, right? Qin Feiyang shook his head and chuckled. Moreover, only the king, the divine king, the sovereign of the human race, and heavenly Lord Ji knew about the alliance. Everyone else was still in the dark. If they were all brought to the Black Tortoise world at once, it would probably cause quite a commotion. Then what do you have in mind? Madman frowned. I do have a way. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then tell us. Don't keep us in suspense. White-eyed Wolf glared at him. We can put on another show with the king, the divine king, and the sovereign of the human race. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. What show? The two were suspicious. Qin Feiyang moved closer to their ears and whispered a few words. White-Eyed Wolf and Madman heard this and hesitated for a while before asking, "Will this work?" "It should work." Qin Feiyang nodded. White-Eyed Wolf pondered for a while and said, "As long as you think it will work, it will definitely work. Then, shall we release the news now?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Long Chun with a smile. "Then you go ahead." Long Chun rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and waved his hand, leaving the Black Tortoise world with White-Eyed Wolf and Madman. Chapter 42:12. The horizon turned white. The sun gradually rose. Everything on the earth woke up one by one. After dawn, 3 figures appeared in the sky above Qingtian City. Qin Feiyang, Madman Mo, Golden-Winged Wolf King. As soon as the 3 appeared, the entire city fell into chaos. What are they doing here? Are they really planning to slaughter the human race? No, I don't want to die yet. Run. Before Qin Feiyang and the other 2 said anything, the people in the city began to rush out of the city. Are we that scary? The corner of Madman's mouth twitched. He looked at these people as if they were demons. What do you think? In the eyes of the world, the sea race and the beast race are unreachable existences. But now, in just one night, the 2 races were destroyed by us. It would be strange if they weren't afraid of us. Qin Feiyang shook his head. But are we really protecting them? Madman pouted. The sea race and the beast race were different, because they were the subordinates of the divine kingdom. But the human race, the god race, and the purple-gold divine dragon race were all targets they had to protect. But the key is that they don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at the fleeing people and said, "Please tell the king that the divine king, the sovereign of the human race, will come to Qingtian City tomorrow at noon." "What do you mean?" "Not to massacre the city." Everyone stopped and looked at each other. If the divine king, the divine kingdom, and the sovereign don't come tomorrow, then we might really massacre the city. After Qin Feiyang said that, he opened a space-time tunnel. The 3 turned around and left. Quickly think of a way to contact the people of Mount Supreme, the Divine Island, and the purple-gold divine dragon race. How do we contact them? We can't even enter the Divine Island and Mount Supreme. We have to find the city lord about this. He can contact the people of Mount Supreme and the Divine Island. This news quickly spread across the 3 continents. Everyone was in danger. They all looked towards Mount Supreme, the Godly Island, and the purple-gold divine dragon's territory. Whether or not the 3 continents could escape the fate of being massacred all depended on the decision of the 3 monarchs. In the past, they would not have believed that Qin Feiyang and the others had the ability to slaughter the 3 continents. But things were different now. The beast race and the sea race were examples. East continent, the broken earth, the bloody mist that filled the air, and the pungent smell of blood seemed to be telling a sad story. Qin Feiyang and the other 2 walked in the void without any ripples in their eyes. It wasn't that they were cold-blooded and heartless, but they were already used to this kind of scene. What are they doing now? The White-Eyed Wolf was puzzled. Find the inner demons. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Even if the inner demons were only remnant souls, he could still sense the location of the inner demons. Originally, he had planned to wait for the inner demons to reconstruct their bodies before coming to him. But now, he had to find the inner demons to find out about many things. For example, the foundation of the Central Dynasty. For example, how long would it take for the people of the Central Dynasty to come out and reach the 4 great continents? He sensed that they soon entered the sea. The sea was boundless, but the sea had been dyed red with blood. Corpses of the sea race could be seen everywhere. This was the masterpiece of the White-Eyed Wolf and the lunatic. Sometimes they would also encounter some remnants of the sea race. Because the news of the 3 of them appearing in Qingtian City had spread, the remnants of the sea race thought that the East continent was safe. But they did not expect to see the three of them in the sea. Were they here to kill them all? So, any remnants of the sea race who saw Qin Feiyang and the other two immediately fled, desperately. However, Qin Feiyang and the other two did not chase after them. There was indeed no need. After losing Neptune, the sea gods, and the core members of the sea race on the sea gods' island, the rest of the sea race were no longer a concern. The most important thing was, now whether it was the sea race or the beast race, those who had mastered the ultimate profundity had basically been captured. Even if there were some who escaped, they could be ignored. About an hour later, the three of them had already gone deep into the sea. A small island entered their line of sight. On the island, rocks were everywhere and the plants were withered and yellow. This was an inconspicuous island. The diameter of the entire island was only about 100,000 feet. There were no powerful sea beasts on the island, nor were there any members of the sea race living on it. But this time, Qin Feiyang came for this island. They are here. Seeing Qin Feiyang stop, the lunatic and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and immediately scanned the island. Other than some weak sea beasts, there was not even a shadow of a person. Yes, I just don't know if the other 8 prodigies are with them. Qin Feiyang whispered. Wouldn't it be better if they are together? The lunatic bared his teeth. Once the 8 prodigies fell into their hands, they would be able to obtain dozens of ultimate profundities. The white-eyed wolf also snickered. Boom! Divine sense rolled out and instantly enveloped the entire island. The next moment, 2 streams of light rushed out from a hole on the island and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and the other 2, gradually turning into 2 figures. That's right, it was the inner demons and Lu Jiejin. And at this moment, they were not wearing masks. That familiar face, that familiar gaze, made Qin Feiyang extremely excited. The white-eyed wolf was the same. The lunatic looked at the 2 of them curiously. The inner demons looked exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. Lu Jiejin also had an imposing appearance and was a talent. Qin Feiyang spoke, but he seemed to have some concerns. It's okay. It's very convenient now. You can say whatever you want. Lu Jiejin smiled slightly. Cousin, when Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't control the emotions in his heart. He quickly ran over, and his eyes were filled with tears. After so many years, why are you still like a kid? The inner demons looked at him with disdain. Who's a kid? Aren't I happy? Qin Feiyang wiped away his tears and glared at the inner demons. Ha! The inner demons laughed, but the next moment, killing intent flashed in his eyes, and a wave of divine sense gushed out and blasted toward the island below. Boom! With a loud bang, the island turned into ashes on the spot, and all the sea beasts on the island disappeared as if they had evaporated into thin air. What are you doing? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The inner demons said, We can't let these sea beasts know about our relationship. Otherwise, it won't be good for both of us. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the 2 with a smile. How have you been these years? Haven't you seen it all? We've been living a better life than you. The inner demon snickered. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. You've been living a good life, but these years we've been in so much pain that we wish we were dead. Especially little Qinzi. He's been living in self-blame every day, knowing that he killed you. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. So, you're going to ask us to compensate you for your mental loss? The inner demons asked. Not bad. After so many years, you still know me so well. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Look at you. Even I know what you're going to do when you stick out your butt. The inner demons despised him. Ha! The white-eyed wolf laughed dryly. Lu Jiejin looked at the white-eyed wolf and the inner demons, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, It's good that you're all alive. The 3 of them were stunned and looked at each other. After a long time, they nodded and said, Yes. It could be said that, There was nothing happier than this. Lu Jiajin looked at Madman and said with a smile, "Little cousin, don't you want to introduce him?" "Yes, yes, yes." Qin Feiyang patted his head, hurriedly pulled Madman to his side, and said with a smile, "This guy is Madman Mo. We met in the ancient world, and he is very familiar with the two ancestors. If he hadn't taken care of me in the ancient world, I don't know how many dangers I would have encountered. I've heard of Brother Mo's name a long time ago. Thank you for taking care of Feiyang, Brother Mo." Lu Jiajin cupped his hands and smiled. "I'm also an ancestor-level senior. It's my duty to take care of a junior like him." Madman bared his teeth. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He was really thinking about taking advantage of him all the time. The white-eyed wolf smiled mysteriously and said, "And this guy has another identity." "What identity?" The inner demons and Lu Jiajin were curious. "The reincarnation of the Blood Demon King," the white-eyed wolf said. "The Blood Demon King." The two looked at Madman in surprise. "You also know about the Blood Demon King?" This time it was Qin Feiyang and the other two who were a little surprised. "We know a little. When we came to the 4 great continents, we inquired about the grudges between the Divine Kingdom and the Sky Cloud Realm. Among them is the grudges between the Blood Demon King and Ji Yunhai." Lu Jiajin nodded and smiled, looking at Madman, and said, "I really didn't expect you to be his reincarnation. Brother Mo's righteous deeds in his previous life are admirable." "It's nothing." Madman waved his hand, blushing. Qin Feiyang asked, "Cousin, inner demons, why don't we go to the Black Tortoise Realm?" "Okay. We also want to see what the Black Tortoise Realm has become after all these years." Lu Jiajin smiled. "By the way, where are the 8 prodigies who came with you?" The white-eyed wolf looked at the two suspiciously. "They returned to the Central Dynasty." Lu Jiajin said. "They went back so soon?" The 3 were surprised. "What can these trash do if they stay?" The inner demon's face was full of disdain. Hearing this, the 3 were speechless. The prodigies who mastered the will of the heavenly Tao were trash. If these 8 people were trash, then what were Ryuko and the others? Were they worse than trash? Sure enough, the inner demons were as arrogant as ever. "That's a pity. I wanted to deprive them of their ultimate meaning." The white-eyed wolf shook his head. When they returned to the Central Dynasty, they could only stare. Chapter 40, 213. Deprive the ultimate profound. Lu Jiajin glanced at the white-eyed wolf, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What exactly is this deprive the ultimate profound?" "You'll know when you go to the Black Tortoise World." Qin Feiyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, the 5 of them appeared in the tea garden of the Devil's Land. So many herbs? Looking at the current Black Tortoise World, the inner demons were dumbfounded. What rich energy! Lu Jiajin was also shocked. "It's changed a lot." Qin Feiyang smiled. "It's not just big, it's a completely different world from before." The inner demons was filled with emotions. He scanned the Devil's Land and asked, "Where are we now?" "The Devil's Land." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "What? The Devil's Land?" The inner demons was stunned. In his impression, the Devil's Land was an extremely dangerous and desolate place. But now, here, the sun was shining brightly and auspicious vapors were rising. It was simply a paradise. Is this a place? Don't fool me. Over the years, he had imagined the changes of the Black Tortoise World. But now, the scene he saw was completely beyond his imagination. "Why would I fool you?" Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. "But to be honest, it's not easy for the Black Tortoise World to grow to this point." It was a simple sentence, but it contained all of the bitterness. "Definitely." The inner demons nodded. "Not to mention the growth of a world. Even the growth of a person had to experience countless setbacks and tribulations." "Where are they?" Madman scanned the sky suspiciously. Long Chen, Long Qin, Qiao Shui, and the others. Why wasn't there a single person? Moreover, the countless remnant souls suppressed, and the 3 high-grade sovereign divine weapons were nowhere to be seen. Qin Feiyang also noticed this, and a trace of suspicion appeared on his face. Just as he was about to release his perception to search for Long Chen and the others, a beautiful figure descended from the sky. It was Fire Lotus. Qin Dage. Fire Lotus smiled and landed in front of Qin Feiyang and the others. The inner demons, Lu Jejin, looked at Fire Lotus suspiciously. Where are Long Chen and the others? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. I sent them to Soul Seal Valley. After all, everyone is cultivating in seclusion. I don't want to be disturbed. Fire Lotus smiled. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded in realization and said with a smile, You are so thoughtful. Wait a moment. Why do I feel like she's familiar? The inner demon said as she sized up the fiery lotus, her face full of suspicion. Fire Lotus also looked at the inner demons and smiled. Long time no see. We know each other. The inner demons was surprised. Fire Lotus pursed her lips and smiled. She looked at the inner demons and said, Think about it carefully. The inner demons lowered his head and pondered, but he couldn't think of anything. Let me give you a reminder. The land of the undead in the ancient world, the white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. The ancient world, the land of the undead, the inner demons murmured. You still can't think of anything? The white-eyed wolf said helplessly, Let me give you another reminder. A rusty axe. A rusty axe. The inner demons lowered his head and pondered. After a long time, a trace of surprise gradually appeared in his eyes. He looked at Fire Lotus and asked, You can't be that undead from back then, right? That's me. Fire Lotus nodded. This, the inner demons, was dumbfounded. Back then, when Qin Feiyang first entered the ancient world, he met Fire Lotus. Later, when Qin Feiyang returned to the Great Qin and fought with the Demon Lord and the others, Fire Lotus had been in the Black Tortoise realm. At that time, the inner demons were still around, so he knew about Fire Lotus. However, because Fire Lotus hadn't reconstructed her physical body at that time, the inner demons felt a sense of familiarity. How is it? You didn't expect that the little undead who shamelessly followed us back then was actually such a stunning beauty, right? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Brother Wolf, what nonsense are you talking about? Fire Lotus's cheeks turned red. Haha, the white-eyed wolf laughed. I really didn't expect it. It's too surprising. The inner demons shook his head and asked, So now you're no longer an undead? This was because he didn't feel the slightest bit of undead chi on Fire Lotus. She's already gone through her tribulation and got rid of her undead body. Qin Feiyang smiled. No wonder. The inner demons nodded in realization. All these years, it's all thanks to this girl. Do you know who's the one who made the Black Tortoise realm what it is today? It's Fire Lotus. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. The Black Tortoise realm today is the result of everyone's hard work. I don't dare to claim this credit alone. Fire Lotus hurriedly waved her hands. Don't be humble. With this noble one's brain, how can I manage such a big world? The inner demons looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain. You make it sound like I'm stupid. Qin Feiyang was speechless. I'm your inner demons. Don't I know you? The inner demons rolled his eyes. Can you give me some face? Qin Feiyang's face darkened. They started to undermine him as soon as they met. They were born from the same root. Why are you so anxious to destroy each other? Fire Lotus couldn't help but snicker at the side. Qin Feiyang pointed at Lu Jejin and said with a smile, Girl, let me introduce you. This is my cousin, the owner of the Eye of Nothingness, Lu Jejin. Hello. Lu Jejin reached out his hand with a gentle smile on his face. Hello. Fire Lotus also reached out her hand. The white-eyed wolf sized up the two of them. His eyes turned slightly, and he transmitted his voice. Little Qin, haven't you been worrying about Fire Lotus's marriage? Isn't this the best opportunity? Huh. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the white-eyed wolf. Look at them. How compatible. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He couldn't help but size up his cousin and Fire Lotus. Don't say it. At first glance, they were indeed quite compatible. The man was dignified and had an extraordinary temperament. The woman was as beautiful as a flower and as beautiful as the moon. The most important thing was, Lu Jiajin and Fire Lotus were both his family members. As the saying goes, one should not let one's own fertile water flow into one's own fields. He could really matchmake them. What do you think? The white-eyed wolf snickered. Not bad, not bad. Qin Feiyang nodded. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and said, Cousin. Huh. Lu Jiajin turned to look at him. By the way, are you still single? The white-eyed wolf snickered. What do you mean? Lu Jiajin looked at him in confusion. Just answer me, the white-eyed wolf urged. Before Lu Jiajin could speak, the inner demons said first, Even if he is single, he deserves it. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at the inner demons suspiciously. You don't know how popular he is in the Central Dynasty. The women who like him can line up from the West Continent to the East Continent. And those women are all God's favored daughters of the Central Dynasty. Even the princess of the Central Dynasty, the apple of the emperor's eye, admires him. But this guy is just like an ice-cold rock, completely ignoring them. I'm even suspecting if there's something wrong with him in that aspect. The inner demons despised him. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at Lu Jiajin in astonishment. Was it so exaggerated? The line could line up from the West Continent to the East Continent. Even the emperor's daughter fell in love with him. I'm not exaggerating at all. If you don't believe me, you can go to the Central Dynasty and have a look. The inner demons pursed his lips. Are you jealous? Lu Jiajin looked at the inner demons in amusement. What's there to be jealous of? The inner demons didn't care. Big Cousin is indeed Big Cousin. His charm is unparalleled. Qin Feiyang bared his teeth. Lu Jiajin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How could the inner demons be so exaggerated? In that case, you're still single, the white-eyed wolf said. Why? Are you going to introduce me to someone? Lu Jiajin asked jokingly. Yes, far away on the horizon, close in front of you. The white-eyed wolf nodded. Suddenly, he raised his naughty paw and pushed Fire Lotus hard. Caught off guard, Fire Lotus immediately fell into Lu Jiajin's arms. Lu Jiajin was stunned. He quickly reached out and held Fire Lotus, afraid that she would fall. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Who would have thought that the white-eyed wolf would do such a thing? They were all stunned on the spot. Fire Lotus and Lu Jiajin, who were hugging each other, were at a loss for a moment. When they came back to their senses, Lu Jiajin quickly let go of Fire Lotus. Fire Lotus also hurriedly got up from Lu Jiajin's arms. She turned her head and glared at the white-eyed wolf, saying, Brother Wolf, what are you doing? After saying that, she turned and left angrily, her cheeks flushed red. Ha ha, the white-eyed wolf laughed. The more he looked at them, the more compatible they were. Chapter 42:14. You're a little too much. Madman glared at the white-eyed wolf. The two of them had just met. How could he be so direct? Although Fire Lotus was the ninth Heaven Palace master and had seen the world, she was still a woman and was thin-skinned. Don't you think they're a good match? The white-eyed wolf looked at Madman unhappily. A good match is a good match, but shouldn't they get to know each other first? Madman was furious. It was simply more of a hindrance. What's there to understand? We know Big Cousin's character and personality. We also know Fire Lotus's character and personality. There's no need to go through those formalities. Just bow to heaven and earth and enter the bridal chamber. Big Cousin, don't you think so? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth at Lu Jiajin. Lu Jiajin hadn't recovered yet, and when he heard this, he couldn't help but be angry. How could he matchmake them like this? Bow to heaven and earth and enter the bridal chamber? Why didn't he just skip the bow to heaven and earth and enter the bridal chamber directly? After all, it was a major event in life. Why did he make it so childish? Don't mess around. Lu Jiajin glared at the white-eyed wolf, then looked at Fire Lotus's back and said with a smile, "To be valued by little cousin, she must be a good woman. I can't delay her. See, this is the standard of a good man. I'd rather be a bachelor than ruin her." Madman looked at the white-eyed wolf and said with disdain, "Wait, what do you mean? I'm a bad man? I'm in a relationship, so I'm ruining her. Little Madman, you have to make yourself clear today, or I won't let you off." The white-eyed wolf grabbed Madman's clothes and roared fiercely. However, Madman ignored him. I really miss it, seeing Madman and the white-eyed wolf fighting the inner demon's side. They hadn't seen this scene for many years. His last impression was the scene of white-eyed wolf, Lu Zhang, and Ling Yunfei fooling around. But now it was a lunatic. But it could be seen that this lunatic had a very good relationship with Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. They were the kind of brothers who would risk their lives for each other. "Where are Fatso, Ling Yunfei, and Lu Zhang?" the inner demons asked. "Them. They're all enjoying life in Great Qin. Now they have many children and grandchildren," the white-eyed wolf said. "Children and grandchildren?" The inner demons were stunned. "Yeah, many years ago they already had children. Before coming to the Sky Cloud realm, we went back. Those little brats were already drinking and picking up girls everywhere." The white-eyed wolf bared its fangs. "So you're saying that the student has surpassed the master?" The inner demons were astonished. "Of course. Can our descendants be bad?" The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly, then looked at Lu Jiajin, bared its fangs, and said, "Big cousin, you have to hurry up. Otherwise, when you go back, Lu Zhang's great-grandchildren will be everywhere." Lu Jiajin smiled bitterly and asked, "Then who did he marry?" "You all know her, Little Hong," the white-eyed wolf said. "Lu Hong?" Lu Jiajin recalled a little and asked. "Yes." The white-eyed wolf nodded. "Not bad." Lu Jiajin nodded. "What's not bad? He's a total henpecked husband. He's a disgrace to us men." The white-eyed wolf's face was full of disdain. Great Qin. A man in his 30s was sitting in the courtyard, leisurely drinking tea. Achoo! Suddenly, he sneezed. "What's wrong?" Next to him, a beautiful woman was washing clothes. Hearing the sneeze, she raised her head and looked at the young man suspiciously. Needless to say, someone must be thinking of me. The man bared his teeth, looking like he was asking for a beating. "You're old and indecent." The beautiful woman glared at him, looked up at the sky, and muttered, "I wonder how Qin Dage and the others are doing now. Yes, after so many years, they haven't come back to visit us. How heartless." The man shook his head and sighed. "What are you talking about? You haven't gone back for so many years. Shouldn't you be worried about them? You still say that they have no conscience. I think the older you get, the thicker your skin becomes." The beautiful woman glared at him fiercely. "If I wasn't thick-skinned, how could I have pursued you?" The man bared his teeth and stretched out his knotty hand. Scram! The beautiful woman's cheeks turned red. She slapped the man's hand away and said angrily, "The older you get, the more indecent you become." "I'm not decent. Hurry up, let's go make another one." The man chuckled, picked up the beautiful woman, and ran into the house. Black Tortoise World. Lu Jijin and the inner demons looked at each other. Looking at the white-eyed wolf, they were speechless. After so many years, this wolf cub's character really hadn't changed at all. A few words could anger people to death. The inner demons was silent for a while. Looking at Qin Feiyong, he asked, "What about them?" Them. Qin Feiyong was stunned. "It's Mom and Dad." The inner demons stammered. Qin Feiyong couldn't help laughing and said, "My parents are your parents. Why are you being so shy?" The inner demons laughed dryly. "They're all very good, and they gave birth to many younger brothers and sisters for us." Qin Feiyong smiled. "What? Many younger brothers and sisters?" The inner demons were dumbfounded. Hey, why are you so surprised? They're still so young. Is there a problem with having a few children?" Qin Feiyong stared at him speechlessly. No problem. I'm just a little surprised." The inner demons hurriedly waved his hands. "It's really quite surprising." Lu Jiajin also nodded and asked, "Have you seen them?" "Yes. The last time I saw them, except for the youngest pair of twins, the others had already grown up." Qin Feiyong nodded. "There are twins." The inner demons was stunned. "Yes. A younger brother, a younger sister, a pair of twins." Qin Feiyong nodded and smiled. "Damn, our father is still vigorous despite his age." The inner demon's mouth twitched. He could even make twins. Awesome. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled bitterly. The inner demons were becoming more and more like the white-eyed wolf. They couldn't even say anything nice. "What's their character like?" Lu Jiajin asked with a smile. "Some are okay and some are not. After all, they were born in the royal family. It's inevitable to fight for power. However, when I went back, I cleaned them up. Now they're not bad." Qin Feiyong nodded. "How did you clean them up?" The inner demons were curious. "How else can I clean them up? I taught them a good lesson." Qin Feiyong was speechless. Why were they like curious babies? "You taught them a good lesson? Don't joke. I guess they were tortured by you quite a bit." The inner demons rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyong smiled bitterly. As expected of his inner demons, they knew him very well. He smiled and said, "Anyway, everyone has changed a lot. But no matter what, father and mother have always been worried about you. If they know that you're still alive, I don't know how happy they will be." The inner demons heard this and felt a lump in his throat. "It's okay. When the matter in the divine kingdom is settled, we'll go back together." Qin Feiyong smiled. "Okay." The inner demons nodded. "Tada!" At this time, with a series of footsteps, 3 beautiful figures walked over. It was the mermaid princess, Fire Dance, and Zhuo Shaoxian. "Why are you here?" The white-eyed wolf was stunned. The mermaid princess smiled and said, "I heard from Fire Lotus that Big Cousin and the inner demons came to the Black Tortoise world, so we came to see." The inner demons and Lu Jiajin immediately looked at the 3 girls. Of course, they knew the mermaid princess. Not only did they know her, but they were also very familiar with her. But Fire Dance and Zhuo Shaoxian were very unfamiliar with her. "Cousin, inner demons." The mermaid princess walked over and stood beside Qin Feiyong with a gentle smile. Good. After all these years, you've become more and more beautiful. My little cousin, I don't know what good karma he accumulated in his previous life." Lu Jiajin nodded and was very pleased. "Ahem, I'm not bad either, okay?" Qin Feiyong coughed dryly and looked at Lu Jiajin unhappily. "Brat." Lu Jiajin scolded jokingly. Qin Feiyong hugged the mermaid princess and looked at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin, saying, "Let me formally introduce you. This is your sister-in-law, my wife." Huh. The 2 of them were stunned. Sister-in-law? In that case, yes, we're married. Qin Feiyong nodded. The 2 of them looked at each other. Already married? No way. They always thought that Qin Feiyong was still single. That was because, in their memories, Qin Feiyang was a blockhead. Things like marriage were simply too distant. Look carefully, don't we look very compatible? Qin Feiyang bared his teeth. Shameless. The inner demons immediately looked disdainful. Zhuo Shaoxian and Fire Dance also looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly. They hadn't realized that Qin Feiyang also had such a narcissistic side. Lu Jiajin shook his head and looked at Zhuo Shaoxian and Fire Dance. He asked suspiciously, "Then who are these two?" The madman and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and immediately stepped forward. They hugged Zhuo Shaoxian and Fire Dance, declaring their sovereignty. They were afraid that Lu Jiajin and the inner demons would take a fancy to the two women and take them away. "Even you have found your other half." The inner demons looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. "Speak properly." "What do you mean, even I have found my other half? With my handsome and suave temperament, the women who pursue me can line up from the sky cloud realm to the divine kingdom. Even Sister Foam took the initiative to pursue me." The white-eyed wolf was showing off when Fire Dance pinched the flesh on his waist, causing him to grimace in pain. "Brag, keep bragging." The inner demons mocked him mercilessly. "Sister Foam, leave me some face." The white-eyed wolf begged for mercy. Fire Dance rolled her eyes at him. Looking at Lu Jiajin and the madman, she smiled and said, "Then I will call you Big Brother like Qin Dage and this wolf cub." "Okay." Lu Jiajin nodded. "Wait a moment. Why did the inner demons become Big Brother?" The white-eyed wolf quickly interrupted the two and frowned. "You have a problem?" The inner demons looked at him with bad intentions. "Of course. I don't. How dare I have a problem? Big Brother, I will follow you from now on. You have to protect me." The white-eyed wolf grinned and grinned. With the Demon King True Body and the law of life and death, who would dare to be arrogant? The inner demon's mouth twitched slightly. Looking at the three couples in front of him, he nodded and smiled. "Very good. Congratulations." "Thank you." The three women looked at each other and smiled sweetly. Chapter 42:15. What's the point of a simple blessing? Give me something more practical. Do you think it's so easy to be the Big Brother? The white-eyed wolf grinned. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin looked at each other helplessly. This wolf cub was really digging a hole with every step he took. The inner demons said, "You don't need anything now, do you?" "Yes. For example, the Demon King True Form, or the law of life and death." The white-eyed wolf grinned. "Piss off." The inner demon's face darkened. "Stingy." The white-eyed wolf grumbled. "I don't want to waste my time talking to you." The inner demons glared at him, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Let's go. Take us to the Black Tortoise Realm." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded. He looked at the mermaid princess and the other two and said, "Go and cultivate in seclusion. I have a feeling that the war between us and the Central Dynasty will erupt soon. When that happens, we won't be able to take care of you. Don't worry, I won't be a burden." Fire Dance said calmly, "Of course. Why would my sister Phoenix be a burden? We still need Sister Phoenix to turn the tide in the future." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Stop flattering me." Fire Dance glared at him. Then the three girls left hand in hand. Zhuo Shaoxian looked at the mermaid princess and asked innocently, "Big Sister Mermaid, is he really the inner demons?" "Yes." The mermaid princess nodded. "The inner demons are so kind. This is the first time I've seen them." Zhuo Shaoxian was surprised. "What kind of person did you think he was?" The mermaid princess asked with a smile. "I thought," Zhuo Shaoxian pondered for a while and said with a smile, "I thought he was a cold-blooded, ruthless demon." The mermaid princess shook her head and laughed. The inner demons in the past were indeed like that. But now, if one didn't see it with their own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that he was the inner demons. Little lunatic! How dare your little girlfriend talk about our inner demons like that? Big brother, are you tired of living? The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Stop trying to drive a wedge between us. Madman glared at him, then looked at the inner demons. Not to mention Zhuo Shaoxian. Even he was wondering if those were Qin Feiyang's inner demons. How could the inner demons be so amiable? Let's go. Qin Feiyang smiled. Hence, the group of 5 left the demonic land and headed to the central prefecture and the 4 great domains. Half a year passed. The half a year here referred to the time in the Black Tortoise realm. In the outside world, only a short while had passed. Half a year later, the 5 of them traveled around the Black Tortoise world. Looking at the current Black Tortoise world, even Qin Feiyang was shocked, because the current Black Tortoise world was comparable to 2 eastern continents. Its growth rate was too fast. In fact, he didn't know that the last time the Black Tortoise world and the ancient castle evolved, the Black Tortoise world instantly soared by a large margin. Whether it was the central prefecture or the 4 great domains, they had far surpassed the past. Even Qin Feiyang was like this, let alone the inner demons and Lu Jiejin. The feelings in their hearts could only be described as shock. This was a completely different world from the Black Tortoise world of the past. It was already a real world. What surprised them the most was the local customs here. In the past half a year, they rarely saw fighting and killing. Whether it was humans or beasts, everyone was as harmonious as a family. To be able to manage the Black Tortoise world like this Fire Lotus is really a capable woman. Old Lu, why don't you consider it? The inner demons couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration. The corner of Lu Jiejin's mouth twitched, and he said speechlessly, Even you are fooling around? What do you mean fooling around? Haven't you seen my attitude towards Fire Lotus? If an ordinary man wants to touch Fire Lotus, he probably won't allow it. The inner demons chuckled. We'll talk about it later. Lu Jiejin waved his hand, looking a little helpless. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up and asked, So, you're actually interested in Fire Lotus? Aren't you guys annoying? I just met her. What kind of feelings can I have? If you continue to fool around, you guys will send me out. Lu Jiejin's face darkened. What kind of people were these? It was as if he missed out on Fire Lotus, he would really be a bachelor for the rest of his life. Okay. Take it slow. The white-eyed wolf hurriedly waved his hand. Unknowingly, the soul-sealing valley entered their sight, but they didn't approach. The group landed on the mountain peak and watched from afar. Long Qin was in charge of extracting the ultimate mysteries. Long Qin assisted from the side. Qiao Shui and the other 2 were even more busy. After observing for a moment, Lu Jiejin nodded in realization and said, So that's how it's extracted. This Long Qin is really scary. He has another identity. Qin Feiyang smiled. What identity? The inner demons and Lu Jiejin were suspicious. Ice Dragon's son, Qin Feiyang said. What? He's actually Ice Dragon's son. Their eyes trembled. Immediately after, a hint of killing intent flashed in the eyes of the inner demons. Don't be impulsive. Now we've reconciled. Furthermore, Long Qin is a person worth befriending. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. Reconciled? The inner demons frowned. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, but soon understood what the inner demons meant. He smiled and said, We reconciled with Long Qin and Long Qin. Ice Dragon hasn't. The inner demons nodded and slowly withdrew their killing intent. Lu Jiejin was more indifferent and asked, So, you have a lot of ultimate mysteries now? Yes. Last time when we captured the core members of the Sea Clan, we obtained tens of thousands of ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws and countless ordinary ultimate mysteries of the laws. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Then, Everyone in the Devil's Land can master the will of Heavenly Tao. The inner demons was surprised. Yes, Qin Feiyang nodded. Your actions are a bit too big. The inner demons was amazed, then looked at Long Qin from afar and whispered, It seems that this person is indeed different from his father. What happened back then? Since the topic had changed to this point, the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but ask. Let's go to the tea garden first, and sit down, and talk slowly. Qin Feiyang smiled and said. Without disturbing Long Qin, the group turned and left. Tea garden. Qin Feiyang brewed a pot of Bodhi divine tea. This is supreme grade divine tea? Lu Jiajin tasted it, and his eyes lit up. Yes, Qin Feiyang nodded. Supreme grade divine tea is rare in the Central Dynasty. Where did you snatch this from? Lu Jiajin was curious. Snatch? Cough, cough. Don't be so rude. Qin Feiyang smiled and explained, This is a gift from Lord Jiao. Lord Jiao? Lu Jiajin and the inner demons were stunned. Lord Jiao of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. Qin Feiyang said, What? You have something to do with the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. The inner demons frowned. We have long wanted to tell you about this, but we never had the chance. Actually, my lord, the Divine King, the sovereign of the human race, has secretly formed an alliance with us. Qin Feiyang said. Alliance? The two of them looked at each other. There was such a thing? It took us a lot of effort to persuade them. So in the future, when you meet the Divine King, my lord, sovereign, heavenly Lord Ji, and Lord Jiu, you have to be gentle. Qin Feiyang smiled. We almost did more harm than good. If it weren't for you, Lao, I would have killed the Divine King and my lord when we went to the mythical island last time. The inner demons smiled bitterly. If they had killed the Divine King and my lord, the alliance between Qin Feiyang and the three major races would have collapsed, and Qin Feiyang's plan would have been disrupted. There's no need to worry about things that didn't happen. Tell me, where have you been all these years? This was what Qin Feiyang was most concerned about. All these years. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin couldn't help but fall into deep thought. It's a long story. After a long time, Lu Jiajin sighed deeply. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Back then on the 3rd floor of the Divine Ruins, we also thought we would die. However, in the end, the ice dragon and the little critter didn't kill us. Not only did they not kill us, they even sent us to a place where the three of them were surprised. I don't know, a place we've never seen before. Apart from a statue, there was nothing else. Lu Jiajin said, A statue? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. Yes, a statue. This statue doesn't have a face. We don't know who it is. Ice Dragon and Small Beast didn't tell us either. They only told us that if we sat under the statue, we would get twice the result with half the effort. At first, we were skeptical, but when we really sat under the statue and began to cultivate, we found that it was really different. In just half a year, we broke through from War God to Divine Lord. And in less than a year, we broke through from Divine Lord to Paragon God. Even comprehending the ultimate profound was like the help of God. Lu Jiajin said with disbelief, It can't be. Qin Feiyang and the other two were shocked. In less than half a year, they broke through from War God to Divine Lord. This speed could only be described as abnormal. However, a lot of things happened during this period. That ice dragon would come looking for us whenever it had the time and beat us up until we were covered in wounds. Especially the inner demons. No matter how badly they were beaten, they were still arrogant. You can say that. Every time Ice Dragon appeared, it was the end of the world for us. Lu Jiajin smiled bitterly. Sooner or later, I'll get even with him. The inner demons snorted, killing intent flashing in their eyes. Qin Feiyang frowned. Ice Dragon kept beating the inner demons and Big Cousin, but he also injured them and sent them to that magical place to cultivate. Was it really like what Longchen's said, that Ice Dragon was nurturing the inner demons and Big Cousin? We won't die anyway, and we can't escape, so we just calmed down and cultivated. We became stronger day by day. Until we mastered the will of the heavens, Ice Dragon suddenly found us and gave us a mission. The mission was to sneak into the Central Dynasty. Lu Jejin said, "What? You already mastered the will of the heavens before entering the divine kingdom." The white-eyed wolf was shocked. Yes, Lu Jiajin nodded. This. Qin Feiyang and the other two were in disbelief. What kind of place could let the two of them comprehend the ultimate profound of the 6 ultimate profound laws so quickly? They had always thought that the two of them entered the Central Dynasty and were valued by the emperor, who gave them the inheritance. They didn't expect that they had comprehended it themselves. Chapter 42:17. 5 Unparalleled Geniuses. It's not that I'm looking down on them, but I'm afraid they aren't even qualified to carry his shoes. The white-eyed wolf snorted. Lu Jijin and the blood demon looked at each other. Between the mysterious youth and the 5 unparalleled geniuses, they didn't dare to say who was stronger or weaker. Because they had never seen the 5 unparalleled geniuses before, they had no idea how strong they were. However, they had experienced the youth's strength. Apart from the 3,000 clones and origin force, the other means weren't very impressive. He hadn't comprehended the law of life and death. He only had one will of the heavenly Tao. The battle's soul hadn't appeared. If the youth didn't have the origin force, the inner demons were confident in defeating him. Of course, it was also possible that the youth hadn't displayed his full strength. But there was one thing to be thankful for. The mysterious youth was their partner, not their enemy. If the youth became their opponent, to be honest, with these means of the youth, they would have a headache just thinking about it. How long will it take for the Central Dynasty to reach the 4 great continents? Qin Feiyang asked. About 3 months. Lu Jejin pondered for a while and said, So long? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Between the 2 continents, not only is there a separation of origin force, but the 2 seas also have the power of law. We can't teleport or use voice transmission, Lu Jiajin explained. So that's the case. Qin Feiyang nodded. Since they couldn't teleport, they could only fly. 3 months wasn't a long time to fly from one continent to the other. Will the emperor of the Central Dynasty also be restricted by this? The madman asked. The only one who isn't restricted is the ruler of the divine kingdom. Lu Jejin nodded. 3 months! The madman pondered for a while and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, saying, It seems that our plan will have to wait a little longer. If the people of the Central Dynasty don't come, this plan will be meaningless. It's best to do it in front of the emperor. Qin Feiyang nodded. What plan? Lu Jijin and the inner demons looked at the 3 of them curiously. A plan to protect the god race, the human race, and the purple-gold divine dragon race. You will know in the future. Now, do you still need ultimate profound? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The inner demons stared blankly for a moment before chuckling. If you want to give it to us, we won't hold back. It's better to be polite. The white-eyed wolf bared its fangs. Get lost. The inner demons rolled their eyes. The white-eyed wolf laughed and suddenly changed the topic. What do you think about the Skype rides of the 3 major races? What else can I say? Just a bunch of trash. Back then, when I went to challenge them, I didn't even use a 10,000th of my strength. All of them fell to the ground like dead dogs. The inner demons were full of disdain. You've already grasped the will of the heavenly Tao. How can they compare to you? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Wasn't this bullying? Anyway, I just looked down on them. The inner demons waved its hand. If that's what you said, then I'll give up. I wanted to find a chance to train them. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You still want to train them? I don't want to criticize you, but you're worrying too much. Instead of wasting energy, it's better to train the people of the Black Tortoise Realm. The Black Tortoise Realm is so big. There must be a few geniuses born there. The inner demons glared at him. Ultimate Profound was a precious resource. Besides, Ryuko and the others were trained by the Lord. Why did an outsider like you worry about that? Qin Feiyang quickly reminded, we're outsiders to the human race and the god race, but you can't say the same about the purple gold divine dragon race. What? You really want to train the purple gold divine dragon race? The inner demons frowned. How should I put it? The Lord is the grandfather of our ancestor. Lord Ji is our ancestor's uncle. Even if he is the son of the dragon, he is still our ancestor's cousin. If the Lord is still the same as before, then there's no need to say more. But now we've formed an alliance with the purple gold divine dragon race, especially the elders like Lord Ji. They treat us like their own children, so there are many things we have to consider now. More. Our ancestors' birth mother, the daughter of the Lord, has contributed a lot to the sky cloud realm. If it weren't for her, the great Qin would have been destroyed. Qin Feiyang sighed. You mean our ancestors' birth mother is still alive? The inner demons were surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Where is she? Is she in the Black Tortoise Realm? The inner demons were looking forward to it. It was because of this woman that the current Qin clan existed. The inner demons were born because of Qin Feiyang, and since the princess of the divine kingdom was Qin Feiyang's ancestor, she was naturally the ancestor of the inner demons. No, I'm afraid you can't imagine where she is now. Qin Feiyang smiled. Where? The inner demons were curious. The great Qin. Qin Feiyang smiled. The great Qin? The inner demons and Lu Jiejin looked at each other. This was indeed a bit unexpected. I have to thank Longqin for this matter. Qin Feiyang smiled. What does it have to do with him? The inner demons were suspicious. Qin Feiyang explained in detail how the princess of the divine kingdom went to find Longqin and went to the great Qin. So that's how it is. The inner demons suddenly understood and frowned. What is this Longqin trying to do? Why do I feel that he's always thinking about you? That's why I respect and admire him. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't think of the problem so simply. Isn't there a saying like that? One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. The inner demons snorted. You're measuring the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. The white-eyed wolf looked at him with disdain. Damn, even you trust him so much? The inner demons looked at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. There's no other way. We've all seen what he's done. If we still suspect him after all this, then we'll be heartless. The white-eyed wolf said. All right, I'll reserve my opinion. The inner demons felt helpless. Qin Feiyang looked at the inner demons and asked suspiciously, there's one more thing. Did you comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death after entering the divine kingdom? Yes, I comprehended the law of life and death a long time ago. But the ultimate meaning was comprehended in the central dynasty. It's also because I comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death and big cousins, I of nothingness evolved that the Emperor values us so much. The inner demons nodded. The other half of the Eye of Nothingness is in the central dynasty? Qin Feiyang frowned. That's right. He's also a genius and is extremely arrogant. But I'm sorry he's unlucky to have met us. We beat him to the ground in a few moves. The inner demons smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. To have met the inner demons, that person was indeed unlucky. He continued to ask, Then, did you find the other half of the Eye of Reincarnation in the Central Dynasty? Eye of Reincarnation, the inner demons pondered for a while and shook their heads. Not really. We haven't even heard of any information about the Eye of Reincarnation. So, the Eye of Reincarnation might really be in the Sky Cloud realm. Madman frowned. It's hard to say. Qin Feiyang shook his head. They still have to investigate thoroughly in the Divine Kingdom, because they can't rule out the possibility that the owner of the Eye of Reincarnation has a low-key personality or has been hiding in the dark. You can ask the monarch and the others to help investigate the 4 continents. As for the Central Dynasty, wait for us to go back and investigate it carefully. Also, investigate the background of the Death God Army. Lu Jiajin smiled slightly. Death God Army, Qin Feiyang murmured and frowned. From what you said before, if you don't have the trust of the Emperor, I'm afraid it will never be possible. So this is where we are worried. Lu Jiajin sighed. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The reason why the Emperor doesn't trust you is because he doesn't know your origin. If we find an opportunity to let him know your origin, won't it dispel his worries? Can we let him know our origin? The inner demons was speechless. Of course, it's not my true origin. Qin Feiyang smiled. The inner demons looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously and asked, You mean create a fake identity? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. This wasn't the first time he did this. He was very experienced. Lu Jiajin shook his head and sighed. The idea is good, but the Emperor is not stupid. How can it be so easy to fool him? If we can't fool him, it will make the Emperor more suspicious of us. Then it depends on our acting skills. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly, full of confidence. Lu Jiajin couldn't help laughing and nodded. Okay, since you are so confident, let's give it a try. But what if he asks the inner demons to take off their masks? That's easy. Just change your face, the white-eyed wolf said. Lu Jiajin smiled helplessly and said, Do I need you to remind me of this little trick? We have thought about it. What we are afraid of is that the Emperor will ask the inner demons to take the face-restoring pill or use the Heaven's Eye Stone to investigate. Hearing this, the white-eyed wolf's face froze. He laughed at his cousin for being stupid, but it turned out that he was the stupidest one. How about this? Qin Feiyang looked at the inner demons and said with a smile, I'll have to trouble you first. Make your face scarred. Scarred? They looked at each other. Make your face unrecognizable and make up a sad story. Maybe it will not only dispel the Emperor's suspicion, but also arouse his sympathy. Maybe he will even take you as his adopted son. Qin Feiyang smiled. Adopted son? The inner demon's mouth twitched. Adopted son, or whatever, it doesn't matter. But this is a good idea. The white-eyed wolf thought for a while and nodded. This is a bit of a test of acting skills. Can you do it? The crazy man looked at the inner demons with a teasing smile. Who are you looking down on? The inner demons glared at the crazy man and then looked at Qin Feiyang, saying, Okay, it's easy to make my face unrecognizable, but I'm not good at making up stories. You make it up. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, Let's talk about the specifics first. In short, they must gain the Emperor's trust. Otherwise, they would never know the foundation of the Central Dynasty. Chapter 42:18. Time passed quickly. After formulating the plan, Qin Feiyang brought the inner demons into the ancient castle's cultivation room. What's up? The inner demons looked at him suspiciously. I want to show you something. Qin Feiyang smiled. So mysterious. What is it? The inner demons rolled their eyes, but their eyes were full of curiosity. Qin Feiyang took out his universe ring and carefully searched it. After a while, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he took out a jade scroll from his universe ring. The inner demons looked at the jade scroll suspiciously. I found this in the ancient world back then. I spent a lot of effort to get it. Qin Feiyang handed the jade scroll to the inner demons. The inner demons took the jade scroll and sank their consciousness into it. They were slightly stunned. Chaos origin divine art? That's right. This primordial chaos divine art is a secret technique that was specially created for people with inner demons. After cultivating the chaos origin divine art, the main body and the inner demons can become one, greatly increasing their strength. Qin Feiyang explained, "This is a legendary divine art. What can it do?" The inner demons frowned. Qin Feiyang said, "I'm also thinking about this problem. The level is definitely not enough." The inner demons pondered for a while and laughed. "However, we can improve on the foundation of the chaos origin divine art." Improve? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Generally speaking, this kind of special secret technique is not divided into levels, only realms. For example, the 3,000 incarnations and the Demon King's true body. They don't have levels, but realms are. For example, at the initial realm, how many incarnations can be activated, and at the initial realm, how many incarnations can be activated. It's also because of this that we can still activate these two killing techniques after stepping into the sovereign realm. From the current situation, this chaos origin divine art is not much different from ordinary divine arts, so I think it still needs to be improved. In other words, it can be modified into the same killing technique as the 3,000 incarnations and the Demon King true body. The inner demons said. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang felt a rush of excitement and asked, "Are you sure?" "Of course. I can even comprehend the Demon King's true body, let alone this thing. It's just a matter of time. If we study, comprehend, and improve together, we can achieve twice the result with half the effort." The inner demons smiled confidently. "Me." Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback. He smiled bitterly and said, "To be honest, I don't have much confidence." Hey, are you still the sovereign that I know? Back in the day, wasn't raising the level of the various divine arts and creating new moves as easy as playing around? The inner demons were speechless. How did he become so unconfident after all these years? Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and sighed. "Ever since I stepped into the sovereign realm, other than the profundities of the laws, I haven't studied anything else. I can't find the same feeling as before. It's fine as long as your talent hasn't changed. We're all people who have unlocked the gate of potential, yet you're still so unconfident. It's a bit embarrassing." The inner demons looked down on him. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and nodded. "All right, let's work hard together." Now, the inner demons were stunned. "What else?" Qin Feiyang asked. The people from the Central Dynasty will arrive in the 4 great continents in 3 months. At that time, they will definitely contact me and my cousin. I'm afraid there won't be enough time." The inner demons were a bit worried. "Don't worry. The Black Tortoise world has a time array. 5,000 years in 1 day. 3 months is a total of 450,000 years. 450,000 years should be enough for us to improve the chaos origin divine art." Qin Feiyang said. "That's true." The inner demons nodded and asked, "Then shall we start seclusion?" "Let's do it." Qin Feiyang walked out of the castle and shouted, "The inner demons and I are going into seclusion. Before we come out, no one is allowed to disturb us. Senior brother, White-Eyed Wolf, I'll leave the matter of Clear Sky City to you." After saying that, he returned to the castle and closed the door of the cultivation room with a bang. "What's going on?" In the tea garden, everyone looked at the castle, their faces full of suspicion. Why would they go into seclusion just like that? More importantly, why would they go into seclusion? Both of them weren't weak. If they wanted to comprehend laws and fuse ultimate mysteries, there was no need for them to do it together. If we can't go out, how are we going to go to Clear Sky City? The White-Eyed Wolf came back to his senses and looked at the mad scientist suspiciously. "Are you stupid?" Don't you know how to find the fire lotus? Madman rolled his eyes at him as a sinister smile flashed through his eyes. He said via voice transmission, "We can also use this opportunity to matchmake Lu Jiajin and Huolian." Haha, you're so sneaky. The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment before laughing. The mad scientist suddenly thought of something and asked secretly, "Brother Wolf, there's something I need to confirm with you. Do you really not have any thoughts about Longqin?" "How can I joke with you?" The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. "If that's the case, why don't we bring her and the inner demons together?" The mad scientist thought. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and said speechlessly, "You're bringing someone together whenever you see one. Were you a matchmaker in your previous life?" "Phut! I was the savior of the world in my previous life, the Blood Demon King." The mad scientist cursed. Maybe the Blood Demon King is a matchmaker. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Scram!" The mad scientist's face darkened and asked, "What do you think of my suggestion?" Facing this question, the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but feel an inexplicable emotion. The mad scientist blinked his eyes and looked at the white-eyed wolf. This wolf cub still said that he wasn't moved? If he wasn't moved, why would he hesitate for so long? Okay, it's just a joke. The mad scientist waved his hand. A joke? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Hearing this, he felt a sense of relief in his heart, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. What was going on? Could it be that the unrestrained me really had feelings for this woman? Impossible. But the more he tried to deny it, the more he couldn't calm down. "I say, what are you two whispering about?" Lu Jiajin looked at the two warily. "Nothing." The two looked at each other and quickly waved their hands. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and said, "Big cousin, let's go. We'll take you for a walk." "A walk? No need. I still need to rebuild my body." Lu Jiajin quickly waved his hand. He definitely didn't have good intentions. "You want to rebuild your body? That's good. Let's go find sister-in-law. She has the Eye of Life and can help you rebuild your body in minutes." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and dragged Lu Jiajin to the courtyard. Frenzy looked at the white-eyed wolf's back. Should he find a chance to provoke the white-eyed wolf and Longqin? Otherwise, when would he be able to truly face his own heart? The next day, the sun was shining brightly in the West Continent. The sky was blue and cloudless. However, at this moment, Qingtian City was covered by dark clouds, and the atmosphere was particularly depressing. Everyone gathered on the streets, their faces full of worry. Swoosh! At noon, 4 figures descended in the sky above Qingtian City. They were the monarch, the divine king, the human race's supremacy, and heavenly Lord Ji. Because the monarch and the other two hadn't rebuilt their bodies yet, Heavenly Lord Ji played the role of a bodyguard. "They're here. Qin Feiyang should be here soon." Seeing this scene, the people in the city felt even heavier. Would the 3 continents eventually follow in the footsteps of the East Continent? Swoosh! After a while, a space-time tunnel appeared. 2 figures walked out. It was the Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf. "He's here." Everyone immediately held their breaths and stared at the space-time tunnel. However, even when the space-time tunnel dissipated, they still didn't see Qin Feiyang come out. What was going on? Where was Qin Feiyang? Could it be that this was another trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain, letting the Frenzy and the white-eyed wolf restrain the monarch and the other 2 here while he went to attack Mount Supreme, the island, and the purple-gold divine Dragon Clan's territory? But thinking about it carefully, it was impossible. After all, with Qin Feiyang's current strength, he could directly kill his way to the 3 sacred lands. Qin Feiyang actually didn't come? Everyone immediately pondered. What was this person planning? The Frenzy glanced at the people in the city and said to the monarch and the other 3, Old Qin is busy today and has no time to meet you personally, so Brother Wolf and I will be the representatives to negotiate with you. What do you want to talk about? The monarch frowned. Let's talk about the future development of the Divine Kingdom. The frenzy said, What does the development of the Divine Kingdom have to do with you? The Divine King's face was gloomy. Of course, we've already wiped out the beast race and the ocean race. I believe that the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon clan don't want to be the same as them. The frenzy looked at the four of them with a mocking smile. The four of them looked at each other, and their eyes couldn't help but become gloomy. Actually, Brother Wolf and I have always thought of wiping out the three races directly, but there's no other way. Old Qin is too kind. He wants to leave you a way out. The frenzy shook his head and sighed. Then shouldn't we thank him? Heavenly Lord Ji sneered. That's right. We really have to thank him properly. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here to negotiate with you, but to slaughter the three continents directly. The frenzy's eyes flashed coldly. So what do you want to talk about? The Divine King said angrily. Surrender to us and work for us. The frenzy said word by word. What? You want to subdue the three races? Everyone was shocked. This ambition was really not small. Now that the ocean race and the beast race were destroyed, if they really subdued the three races, then the four continents would be ruled by Qin Feian alone. When the king and the other three heard this, their eyes couldn't help but tremble. This is your only choice now. If you don't surrender to us, then you will die. Of course, we are also very fair. As long as you surrender to us, not only will we not harm you, but we will also help you to destroy the Divine Kingdom's rule over the four continents. The frenzy said, No need. Lord Ruler has been very kind to us. We will never betray him. The king roared, Do you know what your name is? Foolish loyalty. With the current strength of the Divine Kingdom, you are no longer a match for the Sky Cloud realm. The frenzy sneered. Don't be complacent. No one in the four continents can control you, but we still have the Central Dynasty. The human race sovereign said in a deep voice, The Central Dynasty? You mean you Lao and the others? They're just a bunch of trash. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. I will give you some time to think about it. 3 months later, at noon, in Qingtian City, give us a prepared answer. The frenzy smiled disdainfully, opened a space-time passage, and turned to leave. Think about it carefully. Don't dig your own grave. Even if little Qinzi is related to the purple gold divine dragon race, we will not show mercy. The white-eyed wolf also sneered, then followed into the space-time passage, and soon disappeared without a trace. Chapter 42:19. Heavenly Lord, did you record it? The king sent a voice transmission as he watched the two leave. Yes. Heavenly Lord Ji replied secretly. His hand that was hidden in his sleeve was holding a divine voice transmission stone. All right, I'll spread this video later. When the people from the Central Dynasty come and see this video and see our loyalty to the Overlord, they will not suspect us. The king thought to himself. Understood. Heavenly Lord Ji nodded. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, it was still in Qingtian City. But today, most of the people in Qingtian City were gone, because everyone was afraid of being killed by Qin Feian and the others. On the streets, there were also many people fleeing the city. However, there were 4 people who were particularly eye-catching. The 4 of them were 2 men and 2 women. They were not eye-catching because of their looks and temperament. In terms of temperament and looks, they were rather ordinary, and the aura they emitted was not strong. They were the kind of people that no one would take a second look at if they were placed in a crowd. However, the 4 of them did the exact opposite. In short, not only did they not flee Qingtian City, but they also went deeper into the city and walked slowly on the streets. What's going on? But when the four of them saw this scene, they were suspicious. Soon, they came to the entrance of a tavern. There was no one in the tavern, and it seemed extremely empty. The four of them looked at each other and walked into the tavern. Not even a waiter? "Where is he? Are you not doing business?" One of the young men shouted. Soon, a fat, middle-aged fatso ran out suspiciously. He looked at the four of them and shook his head. "What business? Run for your lives." After saying that, he did not care about the four of them and began to clean up the wine on the wine cabinet. Anyway, he kept it all in the black tortoise world, and it seemed that he was planning to escape. "Uncle, what's going on?" The four of them were puzzled. "You don't know?" The middle-aged fatso was stunned and looked at the four of them strangely. Where did they come from? They did not even know about such a big thing. "I don't know." The four of them shook their heads. The middle-aged fatso was helpless. After collecting the wine on the wine cabinet, he looked at the four of them in a hurry and said, "You guys run with me, or you will lose your lives here." "So serious?" The four of them looked at each other. "You guys really don't know, or are you playing dumb?" The tavern owner frowned. "I really don't know. We just came from the countryside, and this is our first time in Qingtian City. Can you be more specific?" One of the women girls said. "What a freak. Even if you came from the countryside, you should know." The tavern owner was speechless. "Who are you calling?" These words seemed to have angered one of them. Inadvertently, he exuded a shocking, baleful aura. The tavern owner. This murderous aura didn't seem to belong to an ordinary person. Out of fear and anxiety, he ran outside. The young man with a murderous aura stepped in front of the door and coldly said, "Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit." Not an ordinary person indeed. The tavern owner's heart skipped a beat. Looking at the empty streets outside, he said anxiously, "Can we talk as we leave the city?" "Let's talk here." The young man's aura became more and more terrifying. With an invisible majesty, the tavern owner could not help but tremble. "Tell us clearly and we will let you go." One of the women smiled and seemed to be much gentler. Okay. The tavern owner gritted his teeth and said, 3 months ago, Madman Mo and Golden Winged Wolf King invited the monarch and the other two to Qingtian City to judge." As the tavern owner continued to explain, the four of them finally understood. These people who fled were afraid of being implicated. So, Qin Feiyang and his group did not kill the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan, the divine race and the human race, because they wanted to persuade the monarch and the others to betray the divine kingdom? The young woman asked. Yes, the tavern owner nodded. What about the monarch and the others? The young woman was curious. Of course, they will not betray the divine kingdom, the tavern owner said. Why do you say that? The young woman was suspicious. You can ask around, and you will know. Why ask me? The tavern owner was about to cry. If they did not leave now, it might really be too late. Speak. If you don't speak, my companions will not let you leave. The young woman smiled. The tavern owner looked at the young man full of killing intent, and his pupils shrank. He said helplessly, Fine, I will show you a video. After saying that, he took out the divine sound transmission stone and waved his hand. A video quickly unfolded in the void. It was the scene of the madman and the other two negotiating with the monarch and the others. Furthermore, even their voices could be heard clearly. At first, the four of them were very calm, but when they heard the monarch roar, "The monarch has been very kind to me. I will never betray him," the four of them could not help but be moved. This monarch did not disappoint the central dynasty. Finished. Can you let me go now? The tavern owner looked at the four of them pitifully. It's just a few outsiders. Why are you so afraid? The young man, full of killing intent, said angrily, as if he expected better from the tavern owner. Just a few? The tavern owner's mouth twitched. This tone was too arrogant. who did not know the strength and methods of Qin Feiyang and his group. Even the beast race and the oceanic race were wiped out overnight, let alone a small character like him. If he did not leave, only death would await him. "Scram!" the young man shouted. The tavern owner immediately put away the divine sound transmission stone and ran past the young man, fleeing out of the city. The beast race and the oceanic race were wiped out one after another. However, the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race are still safe and sound. I originally thought that the monarch, the divine king, and the sovereign of the human race might have some tricks up their sleeves, but it seems that I misunderstood them. Another young man shook his head. "What about now?" The young man, full of killing intent, asked, his eyes surging with bloody light. Didn't Qin Feiyang and the others give the monarch and his group 3 months to consider? Now it's exactly 3 months. Who knows? They might come to Clear Sky City later. Let's just wait for them here. I want to see how outstanding they are. The other young man smirked, exuding an arrogant aura. The aura of the two women instantly changed. Although they were still wearing ordinary clothes, they were like stars in the sky, making people not dare to look at them directly. What about Lu Yunfeng and Lu Yuntian? Do we still need to find them? The young man, full of killing intent, asked. The 4 great continents are so big. Without the divine sound transmission stone, how can we find them? Let's ignore them for now. Once we act, the news will spread. When they know that we have come to the 4 great continents, they will come to find us, the 2 women said. At the same time, the black tortoise whirled. Why haven't they come out of seclusion? The frenzied one and the white-eyed wolf sat in the tea garden, each holding a wine jar, looking at the silent castle, their brows furrowed. What's the hurry? Although we agreed to meet today, it's not like we have to go. Lu Jiejin walked over. His figure was slender, his eyes were clear, and his black hair was like a waterfall. He exuded an extraordinary aura. Big cousin, how are you getting along with the fire lotus? The white-eyed wolf saw Lu Jiejin walk over and immediately asked with a sneaky smile. Lu Jiejin rolled his eyes. The white-eyed wolf and the frenzied one looked at each other and frowned. Don't tell me that you haven't developed feelings for each other after 450,000 years? What nonsense are you talking about? It has indeed been 450,000 years in the black tortoise world, but we haven't been together every day. Lu Jiejin was speechless. Ah, haven't been together every day. Then what have you been doing all these years? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Playing in the black tortoise world. I also want to know what you have been through all these years. I say, don't think about it all day long. Feelings can't be forced. It depends on fate. Lu Jiejin shook his head. The white-eyed wolf was stunned and asked, You mean you and the fire lotus are not fated to be together? You can't say that. Lu Jiejin said. Then you have made progress? The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Are you done yet? Lu Jiejin's face darkened. They hadn't seen each other for so many years. Didn't they have other topics to talk about? I think you can't even compare to little Qin Zi in terms of feelings. The white-eyed wolf looked at him with disdain. Fine, fine, fine. Whatever you say is right. Lu Jiejin surrendered. He really couldn't win against the white-eyed wolf. This bastard must have been a woman in his previous life to be so talkative. Then why don't we make a trip to Qingtian City first? The frenzied one's eyes flickered. Sure. The white-eyed wolf nodded and laughed. 3 months have passed. The people from the Central Dynasty should be here. They might be waiting for us in Qingtian City. Don't be rash. If they really come, if the 5 peerless geniuses come, the 2 of you might be at a disadvantage. Lu Jiejin's eyelids twitched as he hurriedly advised. Afraid of them? Let's just do it." The white-eyed wolf laughed proudly. "How can it be so simple? Let's wait for little cousin and the others to come out of seclusion." Lu Jiejin raised his head and looked at the ancient castle. His eyes were filled with suspicion. What were these two doing? Chapter 42:20. Let's wait and see. Madman waved his hand, helplessly. This big cousin of theirs was too careful in doing things. It was completely different from their style. Their style was to do it and be done with it. Another day passed outside. Black Tortoise World, 5,000 years ago. In the early morning of the Black Tortoise World, the morning mist lingered. Whether it was the medicinal herbs or the tea trees, there were crystal clear water droplets hanging on them. Boom! But suddenly, two auras erupted without warning. Madman and the white-eyed wolf immediately rushed out and stared at the castle in surprise. This was the aura of Qin Feiyong and the inner demons. But there was no change. Then, what were the two of them doing in seclusion all these years? Do you think they are having a gay relationship? The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and gritted his teeth. It's possible. Madman nodded. However, the next moment, the aura of Qin Feiyong and the inner demons changed. The two auras seemed to be fusing. What is going on? Madman and the white-eyed wolf became more and more puzzled. Boom! Gradually, the two auras dissipated and were replaced by an indescribable aura. It was like a god and a demon. It was like the combination of a god and a demon. What is this aura? Not only Madman and the white-eyed wolf, but Lu Jiejin, Longqin, Dong Jingyang, and the others were also alarmed. They all came to look at the castle in surprise. However, Qin Feiyong and the inner demons did not appear for a long time. The aura of the combination of a god and a demon had not changed. However, at a certain moment, an astonishing aura emerged, like the blooming of a night-blooming cactus. But at this moment, everyone present felt the aura of death descend. They could not help but break out in cold sweat. What just appeared? Why do I feel like I saw a demon standing at the entrance of the castle, opening its bloody mouth at me? Wang Xiaojie came back to his senses and muttered, "Did you see a demon? Why do I feel like I saw a god?" Qin frowned. The others also had a different feeling. But whether it was a god or a demon, without exception, they all felt a fatal sense of crisis. Da-da! A short while later, with the sound of footsteps, Qin Feiyong and the inner demons walked out of the castle side by side. They all had bright smiles on their faces. I knew it. As long as we work together, we can definitely achieve twice the result with half the effort. The inner demons bared their teeth. "Ha ha!" Qin Feiyong laughed heartily. The inner demons said, "The Chaos Origin Divine art is no longer the same as before. From now on, it will be renamed the Chaos Origin Heart Sutra." Primordial Heart Sutra. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, then nodded and said with a smile, "Sure." The inner demons looked at Lu Jiejin and the others who were flying towards them and secretly laughed. "We'll keep this a secret for now. We'll give them a surprise later." Qin Feiyong couldn't help laughing. "What are you doing?" Everyone gathered around him, their faces full of suspicion. "Nothing." The inner demons waved their hands. "If there was nothing else, would you have been in seclusion for so many years? If there's nothing else, would you be able to cause such a huge commotion? Who are you trying to fool?" The madman rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyong and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. Qin Feiyong turned to look at Longqin and asked with a smile, "How many ultimate mysteries have we obtained?" "Go and ask Xiao Shui yourself." After Longqin finished speaking, he looked at the inner demons. The inner demons raised his eyebrows. Was this a provocation? Thus, he stared at Longqin without avoiding it. "Don't misunderstand. I'm just trying to see if there's any difference between you and Qin Feiyang. Long Chen smiled slightly. The inner demons was taken aback and said playfully, "Then tell me, is there a difference between us?" "No. Even his personality isn't what the inner demons should have." "I really envy you guys." Long Chen smiled, then turned around and left alone. His back seemed a little lonely. "What's going on?" The inner demons looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. "Maybe when he saw you, he thought of the ice dragon's soul." Qin Feiyang sighed. "Ice dragon's soul?" The inner demons was stunned. Once he had two souls. An ice dragon's soul and a sky dragon's soul. In short, his situation is similar to ours. Qin Feiyang said. "So that's the case." The inner demons nodded in realization. Looking at Long Chen's back again, they couldn't help but sympathize with him. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, looked at the crowd around, and said with a smile, "Qiao Shui stays, the rest of you can leave." "Okay." Everyone nodded. Tea garden. Qin Feiyang, the inner demons, Lu Jiajin, the madman, the white-eyed wolf, and Qiao Shui sat around the table. "Speak," Qin Feiyang said with a smile while making tea. Qiao Shui took out an account book, looked at it carefully, and said, "The ultimate profundities obtained this time are more than the previous time. There are over 61,000 ultimate profundities of supreme laws and 420,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws." "So much?" Not to mention the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Even Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Last time, he had gained 53,211 ultimate laws and ultimate profundities. There were more than 300,000 ordinary profound of the ultimate law. This time, there were 61,000 ultimate profound of the ultimate law. There were more than 400,000 ordinary profound of the ultimate law. In total, he had obtained more than 114,000 ultimate profundities of supreme laws in 2 tries. There were more than 700,000 ordinary profound of the ultimate law. How big of a fortune was this? Just the ultimate profound of the ultimate law. With more than 114,000 profound of the ultimate law, it was enough to cultivate more than 19,000 experts with heaven's will. Just thinking about it made one excited. The law of light and darkness this time also exceeded my expectations. I thought that only Yu Lao had a law of light and darkness, but in the end, 2B sovereigns also had a law of light and darkness. Qiao Shui smiled slightly. 3. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback, turned his head to look at the inner demons and Lu Jijin, and said with a smile, "Give 1 to Long Qin, and the remaining 2 are enough to fulfill your wishes. If you can't bear 2, you can also ignore us." The inner demons bared their teeth. Qin Feiyang was speechless. How could the inner demons not know what kind of person he was? Qiao Shui smiled and asked, "These ultimate profound are now in the hands of Sister Fire Lotus. Do you want me to go get them for you?" "In the hands of Fire Lotus?" Madman was taken aback. His eyes turned slightly, and he waved his hand and said, "No need, no need. Go into seclusion." "Okay." Qiao Shui looked at Madman suspiciously, then nodded, got up, put away the account book, and left. "What are you planning now?" Lu Jiajin looked at Madman warily. "Nothing. I'm such a simple person. What can I do?" Madman looked innocent. Lu Jiajin's mouth twitched. "You're simple? Don't joke around, okay?" Birds of a feather flocked together. This sentence was indeed true. They were all shameless people. Madman suddenly grinned and said, "You heard it, right? The ultimate profound is in the hands of Fire Lotus. If you want, go find Fire Lotus yourself." As expected, Lu Jiajin sighed helplessly. The inner demons looked at Madman and Lu Jiajin and gradually understood. He smiled and said, "Take my share back too." "Don't you have hands?" Lu Jiajin stared fiercely. "Isn't this something I can do on the way? Go." The inner demons got up, grabbed Lu Jiajin, and pushed him towards Fire Lotus's courtyard. Lu Jiajin's face was full of helplessness. Madman looked at Lu Jiajin's back and smiled. Love grows with time. Sooner or later, they will like each other. I feel the same way. The inner demons nodded with a sneaky look. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. After all these years, the inner demons had changed a lot. They were like two different people compared to before. As Long Chen said before, the inner demons now were completely different from the inner demons. Let's get down to business. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "When are we going to Qingtian City?" "Is it the agreed time?" Qin Feiyang asked. "We should have gone to Qingtian City yesterday, but you guys haven't come out, so it's not good to disturb you." The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. "Looks like you can't wait, but let me give you a word of advice. Be careful." The inner demons advised earnestly. "Don't worry. No matter how weak the opponent is, I will go all out." The white-eyed wolf grinned. Not long after, Lu Jiajin returned. "How is it?" Madman looked at him expectantly. Lu Jiajin ignored him and looked at Qin Feiyang. "The Fire Lotus asked me to tell you that there are more than 280 million spirit veins and crystal veins snatched from the beast race and the sea race. They have all been settled." When Qin Feiyang heard this number, his eyes couldn't help but tremble. This was simply beyond imagination. He immediately closed his eyes and observed the black tortoise world. He found that after more than 400,000 years, the black tortoise world had grown a lot. It was basically comparable to 2 eastern continents. Last time, but it was only close. It was too fast. If this continued, they would soon catch up with the sky cloud world. As long as they caught up with the sky cloud world, they would only be one step away from the divine kingdom. Lu Jiajin looked at the inner demons and smiled. "It's about time we should go." And the inner demons nodded, got up and looked at Qin Feiyang. He smiled and said, "Protect yourself well. Don't let me collect your corpse when the time comes." "You too." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "Don't worry. You will definitely die in front of me." The inner demons laughed. "Get lost." Qin Feiyang glared at him angrily. He didn't say anything good. "Ha ha!" The inner demons laughed and glanced at the black tortoise world. There was a trace of reluctance in his eyes. He said, "Send us out. We will contact you if there is anything. Don't take the initiative to send us a message." Lu Jiajin spoke again. "Understood." Qin Feiyang nodded. After taking out 2 new transmission godstones and establishing a contract bridge with the inner demons and Lu Jiajin, Qin Feiyang resolutely sent the 2 of them out. There was no banquet in the world that didn't end. Parting was also for a better reunion next time. Chapter 42:21 Qingtian City. The monarch, the divine king, the human race's supreme being, and Heaven Lord Ji were all standing in the sky. They had already arrived at Qingtian City yesterday, and 3 months had passed and they had already rebuilt their physical bodies. After all, with the foundation of the 3 sacred lands, they naturally didn't lack time arrays. However, they didn't notice the 4 people in the tavern. The 4 of them were like ghosts, quietly watching the sky above the city. The people who had fled Qingtian City had also gathered outside the city, with a puzzled look on their faces. Didn't they say that they would make a final judgment after 3 months? But now it had already been a day. Why hadn't Qin Feiyang and the others appeared? Could it be to scare them? As soon as this thought came out, it was immediately denied. With the strength of Qin Feiyang and the others, was there a need to scare them? "Father, what's going on?" Heaven Lord Ji looked at the rising sun in the sky and finally couldn't hold back the doubts in his heart and asked, "Don't be impatient." The monarch secretly said, "These few brats didn't come to the appointment. They must have been delayed by something. Moreover, this was just a show. Don't take it too seriously." In the tavern, the young man with a murderous aura frowned and said, "Are we going to continue waiting like this?" "Be patient." The other young man smiled faintly. "That's right. Patience is a necessary quality for a hunter." The two women also appeared very indifferent. The young man with a murderous aura frowned. Swoosh! Suddenly, the four of them seemed to have discovered something, and their gazes suddenly fell on the void opposite the monarch and the others. At the same time, the monarch, the divine king, supreme being, and heaven lord G also looked up. The void distorted. A space-time passage appeared. With the appearance of this space-time passage, the people outside the city couldn't help but hold their breaths and stare at the passage. Is it them? They all murmured in their hearts. They really know how to create an atmosphere. On the other side, a young man with a mask stood on the mountain peak, his eyes full of disdain. This person was the inner demons. Although he had been in the castle for the past 3 months, studying the mixed Yuan Heart Sutra with Qin Feiyang, at the same time he was also rebuilding his physical body. So now, his strength had recovered to its peak state. Next to them, Lu Jiajin had a faint smile on his face. After leaving the Black Tortoise world, they headed straight for this place, because they knew that after sending them off, Qin Feiyang and the other two would definitely come to keep the appointment. They were also curious about the people sent by the Central Dynasty. Was he an expert from the Death God army, or were they those 5 peerless geniuses, under the watchful eyes of everyone? Finally, a white figure appeared in the space-time tunnel. Following closely, a golden figure and a black figure also appeared. His appearance was extraordinary. His temperament was outstanding. They were as dazzling as the stars in the sky. That was right. It was Qin Feiyang, the madman, the white-eyed wolf. The 3 of them stepped out of the space-time tunnel. He's here. The people outside the city immediately became nervous. What would happen next? You said that you would come to Qingtian City yesterday. Why are you only here today? Are you messing with us? The monarch and the other 3 looked very angry. One is the monarch, one is the divine king, one is the human race's supreme, and one is a member of the purple gold divine dragon clan. They are all people of high status. How would this junior dare to mess with you? Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Following closely, he then transmitted his voice to the 4 of them and explained, "Sorry, I was delayed by something and made you wait for so long. You know that we are waiting for you, but it seems that you are in a good mood." The monarch secretly glared at the 3 of them, but on the surface he looked at them coldly and snorted. "Stop being so sarcastic. There is no need to make the atmosphere so tense the moment we meet." Qin Feiyang smiled and transmitted his voice again. "Of course we are in a good mood, because this time we have obtained many ultimate mysteries. Do you think that we will be happy when facing you?" The divine king glared at him and then secretly asked curiously, "How many ultimate mysteries are there?" "Take a guess." Qin Feiyang secretly laughed. The divine king's mouth twitched slightly. How could he guess? He transmitted his voice and scolded, "Don't keep us in suspense. I want to tell you guys, don't take advantage of the situation." Qin Feiyang secretly said, "You brat, do you think we are people like that?" The divine king was quite angry in his heart. Let's deal with the matter at hand first." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice and then looked at the monarch and heavenly Lord Ji, sighing, "We are connected by blood. You don't have to be nice to me, but at least you don't have to look at me as if you are looking at a mortal enemy. You are from the Sky Cloud realm, and I am from the divine kingdom of the divine kingdom. We are enemies to begin with." The monarch snorted coldly. "Fine." Qin Feiyang sighed sadly and said, "Then tell me your answer. You want us to betray the Lord Ruler and join you in your evil deeds?" "Never." The monarch shouted in a sonorous voice. "That's right. In this life, we are from the divine kingdom, and in death, we are the souls of the divine kingdom. If you want to make a move on our three races, then you have to step over our dead bodies first. The divine king also shouted righteously. Clang! The human race's supreme being waved his hand, and the sword of faith appeared with an overwhelming sharpness. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "This is my position." Not bad, not bad. They didn't let us down. In the tavern, looking at the firm attitude of the monarch and the other two, the 2 men and 2 women couldn't help but nod in satisfaction. High up in the sky, Qin Feiyang glanced at the monarch and the other 2 and sighed. Why do you have to do this? With our current strength, you have no way to survive. What is there to fear about death? Heavenly Lord Ji shouted. 3,000 incarnations were activated, and a terrifying murderous aura suddenly roared in all directions. I admire you, but at the same time I can't see you. Because your so-called loyalty is nothing but blind loyalty. Boom! As his voice fell, Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations also appeared, and a shocking aura constantly collided with the aura of Heavenly Lord Ji's 3,000 incarnations. All of you go as far as possible. It's best if you leave the West Continent. The human race's supreme being looked at the people outside the city and shouted. Hearing this, everyone turned around and ran. Some of them really opened space-time passages and teleported to the North and South continents. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He looked at the mad scientist and the white-eyed wolf and said, "Don't let a single one of them go. Kill." Boom! The 2 of them laughed. Ultimate intent, will of the heavenly Tao and mark of all evil were activated at the same time and attacked the people outside the city. Stop them! The monarch's expression changed. The divine king took a step forward, and the mark of the god race erupted. Ultimate intent appeared and attacked the mad scientist. The human race's supreme being grabbed the sword of faith and also attacked the white-eyed wolf. The people outside the city panicked. However, Qin Feiyang's group of 3 and the monarch's group of 4 were filled with doubts. They had already acted to this extent. Why hadn't the people of the Central Dynasty shown up yet? If they still didn't show up, they would really have to fight. Could it be the people of the Central Dynasty hadn't arrived yet? No, there's a murderous aura. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes narrowed as he glanced at the city below. That's right. Just a moment ago, he had sensed a murderous aura somewhere in the city. They're hiding in the city. Boom! He waved his hand, and the ultimate intent of the law of life and death appeared in the sky. On the surface, it was to deal with the Lord and Heavenly Lord Ji, but in fact, it was to force the 4 people hiding in the city to show up. Terrifying divine might covered the sky and earth. The city below, including the surrounding mountains, was collapsing crazily. Dust and smoke were billowing. The power of the ultimate intent of the law of life and death is too strong. Looks like we can't hide it anymore. Then let's go out and kill them. Looking at the collapsed tavern, the 4 young men and women looked at each other. They no longer hid their aura and surged out like a volcanic eruption. They're really hiding down there. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. At the same time, the white-eyed wolf, the mad scientist, and the Lord also stopped and looked down. Qin Feiyang, mad scientist, golden-winged wolf king, who gave you the guts to be so arrogant in the divine kingdom? A sinister laugh full of murderous intent sounded. Then, 2 men and 2 women walked out of the dust step by step. With every step they took, the aura they exuded would become stronger. When they completely walked out of the dust and entered the sight of Qin Feiyang and the others, their aura had completely erupted. The world couldn't help but tremble. You are. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The Lord and the other 3 also looked at the 4 with vigilance. Don't be nervous. We're not enemies. We were sent by the Emperor to help you deal with Qin Feiyang's group of intruders. A woman looked at the Lord and the others and said, "The Emperor sent you? Then you're all from the Central Dynasty." The Divine King had a shocked expression on his face. "Yes," the woman nodded proudly. "We've been waiting for the Central Dynasty's reinforcements. Qin Feiyang, your time of death has come." Heaven Lord Ji roared with tears of joy. His acting skills were simply superb. If they didn't know in advance, Qin Feiyang and the others would have believed Heaven Lord Ji's words. The woman waved her hand and said, "You don't need to do anything. It's just a few pieces of trash. We're enough." "Damn you. You actually called us trash." "This is a bit too arrogant," the white-eyed wolf cursed. In front of this woman, even he, who had always been arrogant, felt inferior. Chapter 42:22. Are you sure? They're all very powerful. The monarch put on a caring expression, but in his heart he was also sneering. This little girl was indeed too arrogant. Qin Feiyang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf. Which one of them wasn't in existence that dominated a region? How dare she call them trash? If she really had the strength, that would be fine. But if she didn't, then the one who would be embarrassed in the end would only be himself. "Are you doubting my ability?" The woman raised her eyebrows and looked at the king unkindly. "No, no." The king hurriedly waved his hand and looked at the divine king, the sovereign of the human race, Heavenly Lord Ji, and shouted, "Let's retreat!" Whoosh! Immediately, the three of them turned around and left without looking back. Forget it if he didn't appreciate it. Anyway, he had already persuaded them. Even if they died in the hands of Qin Feiyang and the others, the emperor of the Central Dynasty wouldn't blame them. The woman looked at the four of them with contempt, then looked at Qin Feiyang and the others and said indifferently, "Who wants to die first?" "Fuck you. If I don't go crazy, do you think I'm a sick cat?" The madman was furious. Shouldn't there be a limit to being arrogant? Shouldn't you see who your opponent is now? Don't you know? I'm the representative of arrogance. Boom! He took a step forward and charged towards the woman. The woman looked at the madman mockingly, but suddenly a hand reached out from behind and pulled the madman back. The madman was slightly taken aback. He turned his head and saw a golden figure flashing past, charging towards the woman like lightning. His eyes were also filled with anger. That's right. It was the white-eyed wolf. "What are you doing?" The madman came back to his senses and hurriedly chased, grabbing the white-eyed wolf, and said angrily, "She is my opponent. Go away." The white-eyed wolf shook the madman off. "You're the one who should go to the side." The madman was furious. He was the one who attacked first. "Aren't you annoying? Aren't you happy watching from the side? Let's talk about it later. You're a man and she's a woman. If you fight with her, you will be laughed at. People will say that you bully women and children. So, I'm doing this for your own good. Why can't you understand?" White-eyed wolf sighed. "Aren't you also a man?" Madman rolled his eyes. "I'm different. In any case, the first battle must be me. There's no room for discussion." The white-eyed wolf snorted. "Do you have the final say?" Madman's face darkened. Shouldn't everything be based on first come, first served? Looking at the two of them arguing, the woman's mocking expression became even more intense. She said, "It's fine. You two are about to die anyway. You can come at me together." When the two of them heard this, they immediately stared at the woman with cold eyes. After so many years, no one had ever dared to look down on them. As usual, the madman looked at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "All right." The white-eyed wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead, speechless. As usual, the four of them were stunned and looked at the madman suspiciously. The king and the other three standing in the distance also had a puzzled look. They were strong enough, so they didn't need to evacuate like the others. The madman and the white-eyed wolf sat opposite each other with one hand behind their back and a serious look on their faces. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, the two of them shouted in unison, "Rock, scissors, paper!" The hand behind their back stretched out at the same time. Both of them were scissors. What the hell? The king and the other three were stunned. Rock, scissors, paper? This is too childish. They are experts who have mastered the will of heaven. Can't they have the demeanor of an expert? On the other side, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What two weirdos? Again, the madman roared. Rock, scissors, paper. The two of them once again showed their fists at the same time. Don't cheat. The madman glared at the white-eyed wolf. It's you who shouldn't cheat. The white-eyed wolf also glared at the madman. Again, the two of them roared once again. This time, they showed their scissors at the same time. When did we become so telepathic? The madman's expression was dull. Don't disgust me. Only a ghost would be telepathic with you. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Good, good, good. The madman nodded repeatedly and roared, Today we won't stop until the outcome is decided. Come on, do you think I'm afraid of you? The white-eyed wolf was not to be outdone. For the two of them, this was a very serious matter. But in the eyes of others, it was just like playing house a joke. The four women initially thought it was very fun and interesting. They looked like two clowns, but gradually they couldn't help but frown. Were they deliberately teasing them? Don't mind them, they are like this. Qin Feiyang looked at the four of them and smiled faintly. Then, under the astonished gaze of the four, he took out a tea table and 2 chairs and placed them in the void in front of them. He then took out a tea set and began to slowly brew tea. This scene made the four women's brows furrow tighter and tighter. They were even more convinced that these people were deliberately teasing them. Don't go too far. The young man with a murderous aura roared. A wave of blood roared out, drowning the sky. The madman and the white-eyed wolf were stunned. They raised their heads and looked at the young man, but it was only a glance before they continued to play rock, paper, scissors. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at the four of them. Why don't you come over and have a taste? You're courting death. The young man took a step forward and threw a punch at Qin Feiyang. I kindly invited you to drink tea, and you have such an attitude? Qin Feiyang shook his head. An incarnation appeared. The incarnation's aura was like a rainbow. It turned into a light shadow and punched the young man. Boom! A terrifying wave of air rolled out. The surrounding void immediately began to collapse. 3,000 incarnations? The young man frowned. Not bad. The incarnation chuckled. An incarnation dares to act rashly? The young man was furious. His black hair was instantly dyed red. He was like an awakened demon king. A blood-red, murderous aura shrouded the world. Qin Feiyang drank tea while looking at the young man with interest. This should be the true face of the young man. He did look a little scary, but he didn't know if he was a paper tiger. Ha! It was also at this moment. There was a loud laugh. Everyone looked at the madman and saw the white-eyed wolf looking at the madman standing opposite of him with a smug face. The madman had a look of annoyance. Who's the winner and loser? Just a rock-paper-scissors game can defeat hundreds of people. In this world, only the two of you can do it. Qin Feiyang looked helpless. There's no other way. We have too much tacit understanding today. Whatever I do, he will do. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth and looked at the madman. Little madman, if you agree to bet, you must accept your loss. The madman snorted from his nose and turned to walk to Qin Feiyang's side. He sat on another chair and took out a jar of divine wine. He sneered and said, Lousy wants to see how you are going to be tortured by her. After saying that, he raised his head and gulped down the wine as if he was venting his anger. Torture me? The white-eyed wolf turned to look at the woman opposite him and muttered to himself, "Little madman, I'm afraid you are going to be disappointed. Don't think that I don't have any other means besides battle soul. If I go all out, even you are not my opponent." No one heard these words. Even the woman standing opposite him only knew that the white-eyed wolf was muttering. As his voice fell, the killing intent in the white-eyed wolf's eyes surged. He sneered and said, "Bitch, being arrogant in front of me is the worst thing you have done in your life." Boom! Immediately, he took a step forward and unleashed all his energy as he threw a punch at the woman. "I hope your strength is as powerful as your mouth." The woman snickered and didn't back down. Divine power surged out, and she threw a punch. Boom! When the fist and the palm met, a destructive energy wave immediately surged in all directions with the two of them as the center. The scene of the end of the world immediately appeared. The sky was collapsing, the earth was cracking, and the sky was collapsing. Before the battle, no one mentioned that they wanted to enter the galaxy. Apparently, they were all ready to fight at this moment. Heavenly Lord, hurry up and go to Mount Supreme and help the 10 overlords to move all the creatures in the West Continent to the South Continent and the North Continent. I have a feeling that this battle will affect the entire West Continent. The king said, "Okay." Heavenly Lord G nodded and immediately opened a passage and left. Chapter 42:23. The air billowed and flooded in all directions. In the center of the battlefield, the wind howled. The white-eyed wolf and the woman were on par in terms of strength and physical strength. Every time they collided, an unparalleled wave would erupt. Boom! After a few hundred rounds, the woman's gaze turned cold. The power of laws surged out and turned into a giant dragon that was more than 10,000 feet long. It roared in the sky and pounced toward the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf sneered and did not panic at all. Along the way, what kind of battle had he not experienced? In terms of on-the-spot reaction, he could be considered one of the best. Just as the woman's power of laws was about to kill him, he activated split time, took a step forward, and instantly appeared behind the woman like a ghost. The power of laws in his palm surged, and he mercilessly slapped the woman's back. Poof! The woman spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot, and her face turned pale. The huge force sent her flying like a meteorite. With a loud bang, she smashed into the ground below. A bottomless pit immediately appeared. Dong Xin! In the sky above, 2 men and 1 woman exclaimed. They did not expect that Dong Xin, one of the 5 unparalleled geniuses of the Central Dynasty, would suffer a great loss in the hands of the golden-winged Wolf King. "I'm fine." Accompanied by a cold voice, the woman walked out of the huge pit step by step. Her hair was disheveled and her face was dirty, and she was dripping with blood. However, that pair of dark eyes was suffused with a gloomy luster. "Not bad. You're not dead." The white-eyed wolf looked at her mockingly. "The one who's going to die is you." Dong Xin smiled coldly. Boom! Wisps of destructive auras burst out from them. In just an instant, 6 ultimate profound meanings appeared out of nowhere. All the ultimate profound meanings of the strongest laws. Following closely, the will of the heavenly Tao erupted. The void and the land here collapsed crazily. Sure enough, none of the people from the Central Dynasty are simple characters. The king whispered. Whether it was the Liu brothers or this Dong Xin, they all had 6 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest laws. Compared to these people, the geniuses of the 3 major races were no different from trash. Go to hell. Dong Xin was obviously enraged, and her murderous aura soared. With a wave of his hand, the ultimate mysteries of the 6 ultimate laws shot toward the white-eyed wolf with world-destroying power. Just this, the white-eyed wolf was disdainful. The laws of death, the laws of destruction, the laws of life the laws of space-time, the 6 ultimate mysteries instantly appeared in the sky. The will of the heavenly Tao enveloped the entire area as it furiously attacked. Rumble! An earth-shattering explosion rang out. The 12 ultimates clashed together, causing the world to lose its color. Immediately after, a destructive wave of air surged out in all directions like a tide. Everywhere it passed, mountains and rivers shattered, the ground caved in, and the disaster spread to hundreds of millions of kilometers away. You want to kill me with just 6 ultimate mysteries? Who are you looking down on? The white-eyed wolf sneered. Strands of power of law gushed out of his body, turning into a huge tornado that swept through the world and charged toward Dong Xan. If this is all you have, do you think I would dare to be so arrogant? Dong Xan waved her hand, and the power of law rolled out like a torrent. The 2 ultimates shattered at the same time in the void. Then, she looked at the white-eyed wolf as if she was looking at a clown. Haha, then hurry up and show me. Let's see if you can surprise me. The white-eyed wolf laughed maniacally. The 6 ultimate mysteries once again appeared in the sky, drowning out the void as they blasted toward Dong Xan. Open your dog eyes wide and take a good look. Dong Xan sneered. Rumble. The next moment, the 6 ultimate mysteries appeared. But right after, along with the emergence of a terrifying power of law, another ultimate mystery of the ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws appeared in the sky. 7 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws. The Divine King and the other 2 were shocked. This little girl's strength was comparable to theirs. 7 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws against 6 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws, and both had the will of the heavenly Tao. The result was obvious. Rumble. The white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimate mysteries were annihilated on the spot. His body also shook violently. A mouthful of blood spurted out. Now, tell me, do I have the right to be arrogant? Dong Xan sneered. With a wave of her arm, the ultimate mysteries blasted toward the white-eyed wolf like lightning. With a loud bang, the white-eyed wolf smashed into the ground, and blood spurted out all over his body. 7 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws. Is this the unparalleled genius of the Central Dynasty? He looked at the woman standing in the sky in high spirits with a trace of disdain in his eyes. Compared to the inner demons and big cousin, she was too weak. The inner demons had mastered 6 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws, and 1 ultimate mystery of the law of life and death, which surpassed the ultimate laws. They also had the Demon King, true body. Lu Jiajin also had the Eye of Nothingness, although he only had 6 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws. The Eye of Nothingness alone was enough to kill this woman. With this strength, what was there to be arrogant about? An ant will always be an ant. Dong Xan looked down at the white-eyed wolf with disdain. Immediately after, the 7 ultimate mysteries moved and charged toward the white-eyed wolf aggressively. The white-eyed wolf soared into the sky with a whoosh. Instant time was used to the extreme. However, an additional ultimate profundity of an ultimate law was equivalent to an insurmountable chasm. For a moment, the white-eyed wolf was being suppressed. Golden blood floated all over his body, and he looked more and more miserable. This brother wolf, can he do it? Frenzy held the wine jar and looked at this scene. He couldn't help but frown. I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Of course, they knew the white-eyed wolf's strength. 6 ultimate mysteries of the ultimate laws, and the battle souls, 3 heaven-defying abilities. If someone helped him, no matter how strong or how many opponents there were, the white-eyed wolf would be in an undefeatable position. This was because once the white-eyed wolf succeeded, he would either deprive the opponent of their cultivation or their ultimate laws. Whether it was depriving the opponent of their cultivation or their ultimate laws, it would be fatal for an expert of this level. But now, The white-eyed wolf and Dong Xian were fighting one-on-one. Even if the white-eyed wolf activated his battle soul, Dong Xian could interrupt him in time with her powerful strength. Therefore, on the surface, the white-eyed wolf's chances of winning were very small. However, one couldn't look at the white-eyed wolf with ordinary eyes. Qin Feiyang naturally knew the white-eyed wolf's character like the back of his hand. But as for the white-eyed wolf's means and strength, to be honest, Qin Feiyang had never seen through him. He always felt that there were some secrets hidden in the white-eyed wolf that he didn't know. Bang! Once again, the white-eyed wolf was blasted into the ground. Dust and smoke billowed and covered the sky. The wounds on his body were so deep that his bones could be seen. Just so. Dong Xian sneered. Previously, she heard rumors that the 5 major clans were afraid of the golden-winged Wolf King. This made her think that the white-eyed wolf had 3 heads and 6 arms. However, after fighting with him, she realized that he was just an ordinary guy. The other 2 men and 1 woman lowered their heads to look at the bloody white-eyed wolf and revealed a contemptuous look. They couldn't understand. Such a small character. How could the 5 major clans be so afraid of him? Just so. I really want to know who gave you the courage. The white-eyed wolf laughed wildly. And Dong Xian raised her eyebrows. At this point, he still dared to be arrogant? It seemed that he really hadn't died before. Bang! The 7 ultimate laws instantly appeared in the sky and laughed coldly. I'll send you to hell now! As the voice fell, the 7 ultimate laws suddenly fell and attacked the seriously injured white-eyed wolf. Not good. Frenzy suddenly stood up. If you want to fight, I'll accompany you. The ferocious young man immediately looked at Frenzy and laughed. Frenzy looked at the young man, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Don't be impatient. Qin Feiyang reached out to stop Frenzy. His eyes were locked on the white-eyed wolf. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. Send me to hell? Old woman, don't you know? Even the king of hell has to kneel and beg for mercy when he sees me. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly. His whole body suddenly emitted a dazzling golden light, as dazzling as the scorching sun in the sky. At the same time, Frenzy and the other 2 men and 1 woman also looked at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. Ayo! The next moment, a giant golden wolf appeared in their line of sight. Its body was more than 10 meters long, and its fur seemed to be cast from gold leaf, dazzling and dazzling. On its back, there were 2 golden wings. As the wings kept flapping, a storm roared out. Golden-winged Wolf King, this is his true face, the 2 men and 1 woman murmured. It's quite handsome. Submit to me and be my mount, then I will spare your life. Dong Xian sized up the white-eyed wolf, and a smile appeared on her face. But as long as one wasn't a fool, one could see that it was a thick sneer. Really stupid. You still don't know when death is at hand. The white-eyed wolf whispered, then turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang and Frenzy and laughed. I will let you see my true strength. So, as his voice fell, the golden wings behind his back suddenly erupted with a mighty aura. Following closely, he spread his wings, and combined with split time, he instantly disappeared from the spot. At this time, the 7 ultimate mysteries that were attacking the white-eyed wolf finally arrived. But as the white-eyed wolf disappeared, the 7 ultimate mysteries directly streaked across the void and blasted into the ground below. The ground within 100 million miles was instantly shattered, and cracks appeared everywhere. This scene shocked Qin Feiyang and Frenzy to the extreme. He actually disappeared from the face of the earth? When they came back to their senses, they hurriedly scanned the void, looking for traces of the white-eyed wolf. The next moment, their eyes locked onto the sky above Dong Xian's head. Unknowingly, the white-eyed wolf had already appeared in the void above Dong Xian. Impossible. When the 2 men and 1 woman saw the white-eyed wolf, they also had a look of disbelief. How could he be so fast? In the blink of an eye, he appeared above Dong Exion's head. Even a split second wouldn't be able to do that. The most important thing was, none of them were able to capture the white-eyed wolf's movements. One must know, with their strength, even if it was split time, they could clearly capture the other party's movements. But now, they didn't see how the white-eyed wolf appeared above Dong Exit. Chapter 42:24. Boom! Before Dong Exien could react, the white-eyed wolf slapped her with its claws. With a loud bang, Dong Exien was smashed into the ground below like a meteorite. On his back there was a claw mark so deep that his bones could be seen. Blood was gushing out. Now tell me, do you have the right to be arrogant in front of me? This time it was the white-eyed wolf's turn to look down at Dong Exen. From afar, it was as if a peerless wolf king was born, causing people to feel fear. This wolf cub. In the distance, the inner demons muttered, feeling extremely shocked. Was this the white-eyed wolf's strength? It could only be described as terrifying. But his speed is really strange. Lu Jiajing frowned. The white-eyed wolf's current speed was much faster than the moment of time. On the other side, the king and the other two were also stunned. After knowing each other for so long, they did not know that the white-eyed wolf had such means. In the sky, whoosh! The white-eyed wolf flapped its wings and instantly landed in front of Dong Exen, slapping her with its claws. Dong Xian's entire body was smashed into the ground with a loud bang. Her body was badly mutilated, and it was a tragic sight. So fast! This time, Qin Feiyang and Frenzy were completely dumbfounded, because this time they had been staring at the white-eyed wolf, but they still could not capture the white-eyed wolf's movements. What did this mean? It meant that the white-eyed wolf's current speed was beyond their comprehension. What was going on? Why did it suddenly become this fast? Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang stared at the golden wings behind the white-eyed wolf, his eyes full of surprise. Could it be because of this pair of wings? At this moment, the white-eyed wolf grabbed Dong Exen with its claws again. The next moment, it spread its wings, activated the moment of time, grabbed Dong Exen, and instantly appeared in the sky. Arrogant with me? Who do you think you are? The white-eyed wolf sneered disdainfully, grabbing Dong Exen and throwing her down to the ground. With a loud bang, Dong Exen was smashed into the ground again. Her body cracked open and blood stained the ground red. It really is this pair of wings. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled as he stared at the golden wings on the back of the white-eyed wolf. This pair of wings had already appeared when the white-eyed wolf became a god. However, after all these years, this pair of wings was completely like an ornament and did not display any use at all. As such, over time, Qin Feiyang also thought that this pair of wings only looked good, so he slowly ignored it. Who would have thought that he would be able to unleash such a shocking amount of power? Judging from the current speed, the speed of this pair of wings was probably comparable to that of an instant. The speed of the wings itself was already so astonishing, and with the addition of the moment of time, this speed had already surpassed the limits of speed that they currently knew. This guy really hit himself well. The madman smiled bitterly. From the ancient world to the underworld king's hell, then from the underworld king's hell to the sky cloud realm, and now from the sky cloud realm to the divine kingdom. After knowing each other for so many years, they did not know that the white-eyed wolf had such a heaven-defying method. As everyone knew, the moment of time was the fastest method. There was nothing that could be compared to it. But now, the white-eyed wolf relied on this pair of wings, in addition to his own moment of time, to break through the limits of heaven and earth. It could be said that, in today's world, no one would be faster than the white-eyed wolf. And in a battle between experts, strength was part of it, battle awareness was another part, and speed was also another part. Relying on this extreme speed, the white-eyed wolf, was enough to sweep everything away. As the white-eyed wolf's brothers, Qin Feiyang and the madman, were already so shocked, not to mention the 2 men and 1 woman, as well as the monarch, they all looked like they had seen a ghost. How could the laws of heaven and earth allow this kind of extreme speed to exist? However, the scene before them was truly and vividly displayed before them. What kind of monster was this? It had completely exceeded their understanding of this world. You still don't understand? This brother is the representative of arrogance. Ha! The white-eyed wolf stared at Dong Xen, who was lying in a pool of blood, and laughed unscrupulously. Boom! At the next moment, the 6 ultimate profound meanings appeared, and the will of heaven erupted. With a wave of the white-eyed wolf's claws, the 6 ultimate meanings instantly shattered heaven and earth and charged towards Dong Xen. Dong Xen! Make him shut up! Looking at the white-eyed wolf's arrogant and domineering attitude, the other woman's eyes surged with killing intent as she shouted at Dong Xen. And Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at the woman. What did she mean? Could it be that Dong Xen still had other methods? One must know. With the white-eyed wolf's current speed, even if Dong Xen had mastered the 8 ultimate meanings, or even the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, it was impossible to defeat the white-eyed wolf. Because with the white-eyed wolf's current speed, it could easily avoid the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, unless it was ganged up on. For example, Qin Feiyang's 3,000 incarnations and the Demon King real body of the inner demons. There was no way for the white-eyed wolf to avoid it. However, not everyone could master the 3,000 incarnations and the Demon King real body. That's right. Let him have a taste of your true means. The 2 young men by the side also spoke one after another, staring at the white-eyed wolf with extremely gloomy eyes. She really has other means. Qin Feiyang and the madman looked at each other, their hearts trembling. Facing the white-eyed wolf, Dong Xen was still so confident. Her hidden strength was definitely not simple. Hence, the 2 of them immediately paid attention to Dong Xen. They looked at Dong Xen again. She slowly got up. A surge of majestic life, laws emerged. The injuries on her body instantly healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! At the next moment, she activated the 7 ultimate meanings and charged into the sky, crushing the white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimate meanings effortlessly. She then continued to charge towards the white-eyed wolf. Why don't you understand? In the face of speed that surpasses the limit, all attacks are futile. The white-eyed wolf laughed loudly. The golden wings spread out, and with the moment of time, it directly disappeared into the sky. The next moment, it appeared behind Dong Xen. The power of laws surged out like a tide, and a claw slammed towards Dong Xen's head. If this claw hit, Dong Xen's head would probably explode on the spot. However, even so, Dong Xen was not nervous at all at this moment. After being arrogant for so long, it's indeed time to shut you up, she murmured without turning her head back. Before her voice faded, rays of white divine light roared out from her body. In just an instant, a white barrier appeared, exuding a sacred aura. What the hell is this? The white-eyed wolf was shocked. Out of instinct, it immediately retracted its hand and retreated from the barrier like lightning. But for this, Dong Xen didn't care. She slowly turned around and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Her body was surrounded by divine light, like a fairy descending from the heavens. The barrier around her was only 5 feet wide, but it was this 5 feet wide barrier that exuded a vast aura. And inside the barrier, one could clearly see mysterious runes floating. The white-eyed wolf, including Qin Feiyang and the madman in the sky, the Lord and the other 2 in the distance, and Lu Jiejin and the other 2, all looked at this barrier suspiciously. It looked quite scary. If you have any last words, quickly say it now. Otherwise, you won't have the chance to say it later. High in the sky, 2 men and 1 woman sneered. So confident, Qin Feiyang and the madman raised their eyebrows. What was so powerful about this barrier? Deliberately mystifying? The white-eyed wolf was also pondering in his heart. Even the strongest law and ultimate esoteric couldn't do anything to him now, so what was a mere barrier? You're not unfamiliar with the 10 strongest battle souls, right? Dong Xian suddenly said. Nonsense. The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. The owners of the 10 strongest battle souls were all around him, so of course he wasn't unfamiliar with them. But you only know about the 10 strongest battle souls, but you don't know that in this world there are existences that can be on par with the 10 strongest battle souls. Dong Xian sneered. Huh. The white-eyed wolf was puzzled. Those that can be on par with the 10 strongest battle souls are the 5 heaven-defying domains. And the heaven-defying domain that I control is one of them, the sealed god domain. Dong Xian smiled coldly. 5 heaven-defying domains? Sealed god domain. What is this? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. They had never heard of this before. Don't worry, because soon you will see how terrifying the sealed god domain is. Especially you. Dong Xian raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang with provocation in her eyes. Defeat the white-eyed wolf first. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You can still laugh now? It seems that you don't realize the seriousness of the problem at all. I advise you to be careful, otherwise it will be too late to regret it later. The other 2 men and 1 woman mocked. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be so noisy. The madman raised his head and looked at the 3 of them. His eyes were filled with bloody light, and the evil aura in his body was gradually awakening. However, in this regard, the 2 men and 1 woman still had a disdainful attitude. The madman couldn't help but be annoyed. He lowered his head and looked at the white-eyed wolf, shouting, Brother Wolf, if you lose to her today, don't say that you are our brother in the future. We can't afford to lose this face. Are you kidding? Brother will lose to her. The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Then quickly get rid of her and let these self-righteous guys shut their stinky mouths for me. The madman laughed. As brothers who had gone through life and death together, of course, he was full of confidence in the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf raised his head and looked at the 2 men and 1 woman. His eyes were full of arrogance, and then he looked at Dong Xian and said domineeringly, What means do you have? Bring it on! I gave you a chance to say your last words, but you don't know how to cherish it. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Dong Xian smiled coldly, raised her arm, and pointed her slender index finger at the white-eyed wolf, shouting, In my name, seal! Words were law. Between heaven and earth, a vast force suddenly emerged, covering the sky and the earth as it rushed towards the white-eyed wolf. This mysterious force filled the air in all directions. The white-eyed wolf was like a bird in a cage, unable to escape even if it had wings. Boom! In just a moment, the white-eyed wolf was drowned by this force. At this moment, an astonishing scene appeared. The power of the law in the white-eyed wolf's body instantly dissipated. Even his powerful aura had completely disappeared. What's going on? The madman and Qin Feiyang suddenly stood up. The monarch and the other 2, as well as Lu Jiejin and the other 2, were also full of surprise. Immortal God of War, chapters will continue to be updated in the hand fighting bar. There are no advertisements in the website. Please bookmark and recommend the hand fighting bar. Chapter 42-25. During the battle, it was impossible for the white-eyed wolf to retract his aura and power of laws. This must be related to the sealed god domain. Seal? Could this be a method to seal the power of laws? And the white-eyed wolf was also a little flustered at this moment. As the person involved, His feelings were, of course, the most obvious. When this power surged over, not only was his power of laws instantly sealed, but even the power of his physical body was instantly sealed. One must know, this was a battle, and it was a battle of life and death. The power of laws and physical strength were sealed by the other party. What did this mean? It meant that he would become an ordinary person. How could an ordinary person fight against an existence that grasped the ultimate meaning of the 7 strongest laws and the will of the heavenly Tao? This was simply the difference between a mortal and a god. A dead end. Surprised. Surprised? Desperate. Dong Xian stared at the white-eyed wolf, her face full of smiles. Madman roared, "Brother Wolf, quickly use your physical strength to get out of this predicament." "My physical strength has also been sealed." The white-eyed wolf opened his mouth. His tone became extremely heavy. Even his divine power had been sealed. It seemed that he had really underestimated this woman. What? Madman was dumbfounded. Even his physical strength had been sealed. Then what was the difference between the white-eyed wolf and an ordinary person? Sealing the power of laws, divine power, and strength. This is the power of the sealed God domain. Dong Xian laughed proudly. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang and Madman couldn't help but tremble. There is actually such a terrifying method in this world. With the power of laws, divine power, and strength sealed, it was equivalent to a powerless mortal. The white-eyed wolf was in danger. Swish! Dong Xian moved. She took a step forward and flew towards the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf's eyes darkened as he turned around and ran. However, his current speed couldn't compare to Dong Xian at all. In just an instant, Dong Xian caught up to him and slapped him on the back. He spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out on the spot, smashing into a deep ditch, his body covered in blood. "Aren't you good at running?" Dong Xian sneered. He landed in front of the white-eyed wolf and grabbed the golden wings on the back of the white-eyed wolf. Could it be that even the golden wings can't be used? Madman was extremely anxious. Indeed, it couldn't be used. This was because the golden wings were actually powered by divine power. Now that the divine power had been sealed, the golden wings were naturally unable to unleash their previous might. "Let's see how you're going to run without these wings." Dong Xian smiled cruelly. She exerted force in her arm and tore off one of the white-eyed wolf's wings on the spot. Golden blood immediately gushed out from the wound. The intense pain caused even the white-eyed wolf to howl in pain. "Now, even if you want to die, I won't let you do as you wish. I'm going to make you suffer so much that you'll wish you were dead." Dong Xian grabbed the other wing and tore it off with a squelch. "Bastard!" Madman roared. His aura surged out. "What are you trying to do?" The young man with a murderous aura took a step forward. Killing intent flickered in Madman's eyes. Qin Feiyang also slowly put down his teacup. Strands of astonishing life and death energy rose from his body. Of course, they couldn't leave him in the lurch. In the distance, "What should we do? Should we make a move?" The Divine King transmitted his voice. The king and the human race supreme stared at the white-eyed wolf in silence. At the same time, on the other side, the inner demons also had a trace of killing intent in their eyes. "Don't be impatient." Lu Jiajin stopped him. His face also seemed somewhat gloomy. "Stop." But at this moment, the white-eyed wolf's low and hoarse voice sounded. Qin Feiyang and Madman quickly lowered their heads and looked at the white-eyed wolf. At this moment, the white-eyed wolf was already under Dong Xian's foot. She humiliated and trampled him to her heart's content. The wound on his back was constantly bleeding. It was a shocking sight. "None of you are allowed to interfere. This woman must be ended by me, personally." The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. That's right, he was laughing. There was an unprecedented madness in his words. The two looked at each other and temporarily restrained themselves. You want to end me personally? Don't you understand the current situation? Trash like you, if one comes, I will kill one. If a pair comes, I will kill a pair, because no one can pass the seal of the sealed God domain. Dong Xian laughed contemptuously. Sealed God domain, it is indeed out of my expectations, but it can only seal divine power, the power of law, and the strength of the physical body. It can't seal the battle soul. The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. This was a great humiliation. Other than facing the ice dragon and the small beast, he had never been trampled under someone's foot like this. How embarrassing! Dong Xian exerted force on her foot, and the white-eyed wolf's body sank into the ground. She sneered. The sealed God domain can't seal your battle soul, but so what? I know the ability of your battle soul. I can completely interrupt it before it is taken away. Don't waste your time. Today is the day you die. Ha ha! Ha ha! The white-eyed wolf's sinister laughter came from the ground. Because his entire head had sunk into the ground, his voice was a little muffled. Dong Xian raised her eyebrows. The laughter made her feel uneasy. Even little Qinzi and little Crazy don't dare to say that they understand my battle soul, let alone you. Come out. Fourth innate superpower. Roar. As the white-eyed wolf roared, a golden light shone brightly. A golden beast shadow rushed into the sky. Its feet stepped on the ground and its head reached the sky. It was as if a supreme beast had been born. The invisible beast's aura swept out in all directions like a tide. Dong Xian was caught off guard and was sent flying by the aura on the spot. What's going on? Fourth innate superpower? Qin Feiyang and Crazy looked at each other. The first innate superpower, deprive battle soul. The second innate superpower, deprive cultivation. The third innate superpower, deprive law. This was known to everyone. But when did a fourth innate superpower appear? The monarch and the other two, Lu Jingyang and Crazy, including the 2 men and 1 woman, all looked at the white-eyed wolf in surprise. The white-eyed wolf slowly got up. His body was covered in blood and mud. Suddenly, he turned and stared at Dong Xian. Dong Xian had already calmed down. Looking at the white-eyed wolf's eyes, a chill rose in her heart uncontrollably. She didn't dare to delay any longer. All the ultimate innate superpower appeared. 4 of the ultimate innate superpower attacked the white-eyed wolf. The other 3 ultimate innate superpower attacked the golden beast shadow. This was a 2-pronged attack. From the moment you met me, your failure has already been destined. But you are also quite honored, because even little Qinzi and Crazy have never seen my 4th innate superpower. Similarly, this is also the first time I have activated my 4th innate superpower. You be prepared, the white-eyed wolf said coldly. As his voice fell, he suddenly raised his head and stared at the golden beast shadow, roaring, "Show your true appearance!" Croak! Immediately, a frog's croak resounded, like thunder shaking all directions. And Qin Feiyang and Crazy were surprised. Wasn't it the roar of a beast? Why did it suddenly become a frog's croak? In the next moment, under the two's incredulous gazes, the blurry outline of the golden figure quickly solidified. Very quickly, a huge golden frog appeared in the sky. It was as huge as a mountain, covered with golden scales like dragon scales. The beast aura emitted from its body was even more unparalleled. This is Qin Feiyang and Crazy looked at the frog, their hearts set off stormy waves. Wasn't this the golden small beast, the sky swallowing beast? That's right. The white-eyed wolf's battle soul in front of them looked exactly the same as the golden small beast. Even their gazes and postures seemed to have been carved from the same mold. What was going on? Why was the white-eyed wolf's battle soul the sky swallowing beast? In the past, When they saw the white-eyed wolf's battle soul, they had always been very curious. What kind of beast was this to have such a terrifying innate superpower? But because the outline of the battle soul was very blurry in the past, they couldn't distinguish it. However, they never expected that the battle soul that clearly appeared at this moment was their mortal enemy, the sky-swallowing beast. What is his relationship with the sky-swallowing beast? The monarch, the divine king, the human race's sovereign, Lu Jejin, and the inner demons were all stunned by this sudden scene. Needless to say, the inner demons and Lu Jejin had already seen the golden small beast when they were on the second level of the miracle. And the monarch, the divine king, the human race's sovereign, had also witnessed the ice dragon and the small beast when they came to the divine kingdom to rescue Qin Feiyan and the others. At that time, the strength that the small beast displayed was simply despairing. Even all these years, whenever they recalled that scene, they couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat, because that was an existence that even their divine kingdom's sovereign was afraid of. But now, the white-eyed wolf's battle soul was actually the sky-swallowing beast. This made them begin to suspect the relationship between the white-eyed wolf and the sky-swallowing beast. At the same time, Dong Xan, the 2 men and 1 woman, looked at the sky-swallowing beast that had revealed its true appearance, and their faces were full of shock. Although the 4th innate superpower had not appeared yet, an ominous premonition had already risen in their hearts. In the blink of an eye, Dong Xian's 7 ultimate mysteries had already arrived in front of the white-eyed wolf and the golden beast. Her life was at stake. However, the white-eyed wolf was not afraid in the face of danger, and he laughed sinisterly. Open your eyes wide and see what a truly heaven-defying technique is. 4th innate superpower, swallow. The sky-swallowing beast battle soul opened its bloody mouth. Suddenly a violent wind blew in this world. Immediately, the 7 ultimate mysteries flew uncontrollably toward the bloody mouth. How is this possible? Dong Xian was dumbfounded. This was her ultimate mysteries. But at this moment, she was unable to control these 7 ultimate mysteries, and could only watch as the 7 ultimate mysteries flew into the bloody mouth. At the instant when the 7 ultimate mysteries flew into that enormous mouth, the crowd present were all stunned. 7 ultimate mysteries that contain the will of the heavenly way. But after entering the bloody mouth, they didn't even cause the slightest disturbance and were directly swallowed by the sky-swallowing beast battle soul. The 7 ultimate mysteries disappeared just like that, as if they had never existed from the beginning to the end. Chapter 42, 26. Everyone's hearts were in turmoil. In an instant, he had devoured 7 ultimate profundities of supreme laws, and they were even ultimate profundities that contain the will of the heavenly Tao. Wasn't this like cheating? It's too similar, too similar. Lunatic murmured. Qin Feiyan nodded. Back then, when he comprehended the ultimate law of life and death, the golden small beast appeared and swallowed the heavenly tribulation in one gulp. It could only be described as shocking. Despair and tremble. The white-eyed wolf laughed and roared, "Continue to swallow!" The battle soul opened its mouth wide. The force that enveloped the white-eyed wolf and sealed him also flew toward the mouth. It can even swallow this. Dong Xian's eyes widened in anger. My battle soul is omnipotent. The white-eyed wolf was domineering. With the disappearance of this power, the sealed power, divine power, and law energy erupted like a volcano. This is impossible. I must be dreaming. Dong Xian shook her head. Her face was filled with disbelief. Go to hell. The white-eyed wolf smiled, and 6 ultimate laws appeared, shattering the void and the earth as he charged toward Dong Xian. You want to kill me? You don't have the ability. Dong Xian also became ferocious. She activated the 7 ultimate laws again and charged forward aggressively. Don't you understand? As long as the fourth special ability is activated, all your methods will be meaningless. Swallow! The white-eyed wolf roared, and the 7 ultimate mysteries flew uncontrollably toward the bloody maw. However, they disappeared into the bloody maw in an instant, not causing any waves at all. But the white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimate laws were still there. Dong Xian was at a loss of what to do when she saw the 6 profound meanings rushing toward her. Her biggest trump card was the sealed god domain. But now, the sealed god domain could not seal the white-eyed wolf's divine force, power, and law force. In other words, she could only take a beating now. Golden-winged Wolf King, if you have the ability, let's not activate our domains or fighting souls. Let's fight fair and square. She let out a hysterical roar. Are you stupid? Aren't we fighting openly now? The white-eyed wolf laughed contemptuously. Dong Xian was stunned as an indescribable sense of shame rose in her heart. That's right. This was an open and honorable battle. If she still said that, didn't it mean that she was now desperate? What a disgrace. But now, she truly had no other choice. She could only watch as the 6 ultimates came at her. Don't give up. But suddenly, a shout was heard. The next moment, along with the terrifying aura, several ultimates appeared and attacked the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul at lightning speed. Too fast. It was too sudden. No one could react in time, including the white-eyed wolf. Along with a loud explosion, several ultimates shot out, shattering the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul. The person who made the move was none other than the young man who was brimming with killing intent. Bastard, you're courting death. Frenzy was stunned as he stared at the young man. Afraid of you? The young man was not afraid at all as he looked at Frenzy provocatively. Below, looking at the white-eyed wolf's fighting soul being shattered, Dong Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Go to hell! With a loud roar, the 7 ultimates appeared once again, bringing with them the power to destroy the world. Without the fighting soul, the white-eyed wolf would not be able to devour her 7 ultimates. 7 ultimates against 6 ultimates. Wasn't this a one-sided battle? Boom! The white-eyed wolf's 6 ultimates were destroyed on the spot. Following that, he suffered a fatal blow as his huge body fell to the ground, covered in blood and flesh. The final winner is me. Dong Xian laughed. It's you. Don't joke around. If I want to kill someone, even a heaven god can't stop me. The white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly as his injured body leaped up and pounced on Dong Xian. He opened his mouth wide, revealing his dense fangs as he tore Dong Xian's body apart. Ah! With a shrill scream, Dong Xian's divine soul escaped and flew toward the 2 men and the woman without looking back. Her expression was filled with fear. This was simply a lunatic. Hee! The white-eyed wolf stood proudly on the broken ground as he stared at the fleeing Dong Xian. There was blood at the corner of his mouth, and there were pieces of flesh hanging from his fangs. He looked extremely terrifying. He really looked like a hungry wolf that wanted to devour people. Terrifying. Truly terrifying. Even if I'm seriously injured, I can't be careless. The 2 men and the woman were also greatly shocked. This was the first time they had seen such a crazy person, no a wolf. This was the first time they had seen such a crazy wolf. Even if someone helps you, you can't win. Do you understand? The white-eyed wolf stared at Dong Xian's divine soul and laughed. Then, as if he had lost all his strength, he fell to the ground. The madman's expression darkened as he took a step forward and landed in front of the white-eyed wolf. He checked the white-eyed wolf's injuries and heaved a sigh of relief. He was only seriously injured and unconscious. There was no danger to his life. Then, he hugged the white-eyed wolf and rolled up the pair of golden wings that had been torn off. He rushed to Qin Feiyang and said, Send him to the Black Tortoise world to heal. Qin Feiyang nodded. With a wave of his hand, the white-eyed wolf and the pair of golden wings disappeared. With the mermaid princess around, no matter how serious the injuries were, it didn't matter. However, the young man's actions had completely infuriated them. Whoosh! The madman turned around and took a step forward. He pointed at the young man, and a murderous aura erupted from his body. It was as if he had transformed into a demon king. Come and accept your death. The other young man glanced at the madman and said in a low voice, Dongping, be careful. Don't worry, I won't underestimate him. Dongping glanced at Dong Xan. This was the price of underestimating the other party, and they absolutely couldn't lose this battle. Otherwise, the peerless geniuses of the Central Dynasty, would really become a joke. Whoosh! Dongping took a step forward and landed in front of the madman. Boom! The powerful auras of the two surged out at the same time and collided in the air. Just the collision of their auras caused the entire place to turn dark. You like to interfere, huh? I'll cripple this pair of dog paws first. The madman laughed angrily and raised his hand to punch. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Dongping's blood-red hair fluttered as he punched without dodging. Boom! The two fists collided with a loud bang. The moment they collided, a terrifying wave of blood roared out. This was the madman's power of all evil. One must know, the power of a casual punch from the madman was comparable to the ultimate esoteric law. With a crisp crack, Dongping's arm shattered on the spot. The intense pain caused Dongping to howl miserably. The madman's eyes were blood-red as he took the opportunity to grab Dongping's other arm and roared, "This is the price of meddling in other people's business!" With a furious roar, he suddenly exerted force and tore off Dongping's arm. Blood flowed out from the wound. This is the power of all evil. So fierce, the inner demons whispered. This power is very similar to the power of the God race mark. However, just the power of all evil alone shouldn't be able to defeat Dongping. Lu Jiajin scanned the battlefield. The white-eyed wolf strength was already obvious to all. So how strong was this madman? It was really exciting. Battlefield. Dongping looked at the wounds on his shoulders. The intense pain made his face look particularly ferocious at this moment. However, he wasn't worried or nervous because of this. Instead, a crazy smile crept up on his face. Undead domain open. Suddenly, with a low shout, a bloody light emerged. In an instant, a blood-red barrier appeared around his body. It was only half a foot long. Like the sealed god domain, there were mysterious blood-red runes floating inside. Undead domain? Qin Feiyang frowned. Could it be one of the so-called 5 great domains? Without waiting for everyone to react, an astonishing scene appeared. The moment the undead domain opened, Dongping's two lost arms began to reconstruct immediately. In the blink of an eye, the two arms were regenerated. Looking again, there were no scars at all. How is this possible? Whether it was the king and the other two, or the inner demons, their hearts were filled with shock. The so-called undead domain, could it be a domain that couldn't be killed? Now you know. I am not someone you can shake. In my eyes, you are just an ant struggling with all your might. Dongping stared the madman and smiled. Streaks of ultimate meaning appeared, and the will of heaven surged, erupting with monstrous power. It was also the ultimate meaning of the 7 strongest laws. This was the strength of the 5 unparalleled geniuses of the Central Dynasty. Almost every one of them was in existence on the level of the king, the divine king, or the supreme. In order to cultivate them, the king of the Central Dynasty must have spent a lot of effort. In this way, if he killed them, the king of the Central Dynasty would definitely be heartbroken. The madman's killing intent was brewing. Boom! The 7 ultimate meanings suddenly attacked, and the terrifying aura annihilated the sky. An ant wants to compete with the sun and moon. Do you think it is possible? The madman's face was full of disdain. Boom! His 7-foot body emitted a bloody light and instantly turned into a 10,000-foot tall giant. He can change his color? The inner demons were surprised. When you and little cousin were in seclusion, I inquired about the madman's situation. It seems that this is the true body of the Blood Demon King in his previous life. Lu Jiajin explained. So that's the case. I thought he was the same as us. So he's a monster. The inner demons were surprised. Lu Jiajin rolled his eyes. Who would say that about their companions? On the battlefield, the madman activated the 2 ultimate meanings of the law of death and the law of space. The will of heaven and the seal of all evil erupted at the same time. The terrifying aura he emitted instantly soared to an unprecedented level. In an instant, their ultimate power Upanishads collided. Madman, on the other hand, had used only 2 ultimate profundities to crush Dongping's 7 ultimate profundities. This was the strength of the power of all evil. The madman who possessed the power of all evil was equivalent to having 2 wills of heaven. He is indeed very strong. In the sky, the man and woman whispered. Such strength was already invincible in the same realm. Humph! No matter how strong he is, he will still die in front of Dongping. Dong Xian's divine soul sneered. Her eyes were filled with killing intent and resentment. Chapter 42, 27. So confident. When Qin Feiyong heard Dong Xian's words, he frowned slightly and lowered his head to look at Dongping. What kind of ability does this person have? Boom! The madman's 2 ultimate profound meanings crushed Dongping's 7 ultimate profound meanings as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, drowning Dongping. Dongping's physical body continued to shatter. Blood continued to spurt out. However, even so, the undying domain did not collapse. The blood runes inside did not disappear either. As Dongping was about to be destroyed, the crimson runes emitted a blinding crimson glow. However, Dongping managed to reconstruct his flesh in the blink of an eye. Looking again, apart from the blood all over his body, there was no trace of injury. Impossible! Madman was stunned. The power of 10,000 evil plus the will of the heavenly Tao couldn't kill Dongping? What a familiar scene! Qin Feiyong whispered. Such a situation seemed familiar. Wait a minute. Zhuge Mingyang. That's right. It was Zhuge Mingyang. Back then, Zhuge Mingyang mastered the undying demon technique and couldn't be killed. Not only could he not be killed, but he also became stronger every time he died. At that time, in order to completely get rid of Zhuge Mingyang, they spent a lot of effort. Boom! Just as Qin Feiyong was surprised, Dongping once again activated the 7 ultimates, and the will of the heavenly Tao erupted. This time, the power released by the 7 ultimates was obviously stronger than before. Could it be that even this is the same? Qin Feiyong was shocked. Every time Dongping was seriously injured, the power of the ultimates would become stronger? If that was the case, then how powerful would Dongping's final ultimates be? It was hard to imagine. He really became an unkillable cockroach? Madman raised his brows. He really didn't believe it. Boom! The 6 ultimates were all activated. The will of the heavenly Tao and the seal of all evil combined, erupting with a destructive aura. Shatter for me! With a roar, the 6 ultimate mysteries shot out furiously. This time, Dongping was even more direct. He did not counterattack. Instead, he took the initiative to open his hand and welcome the descent of the 6 ultimate mysteries. His eyes were filled with disdain for the madman. Rumble! The 6 ultimates attacked, and Dongping's body was shattered again. The undying domain also collapsed. Madman was overjoyed. That was all there was to it. However, in the next moment, his body stiffened, and he was about to go crazy. Although the undying domain had collapsed, the blood-colored runes inside did not disappear. Instead, they had all fused with Dongping's flesh. This is the true face of the undying domain. As long as the runes fuse with Dongping, he will truly have an immortal body. Dong Xian sneered. As expected, in the blink of an eye, Dongping's shattered fleshly body was reformed. Boom! Furthermore, after he activated the 7 ultimate profundities, his power increased by another level. Not good. Senior brother, doing this will only make him stronger and stronger, Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Madman looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. This undying domain is very similar to Zhuge Mingyang's undying demon technique. As long as there is a bit of flesh, even a strand of hair, it can quickly regenerate. If you want to kill him, you must have absolute strength to instantly destroy his body and soul. Otherwise, it will be useless. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. So that's how it is. Madman's heart sank. Although he had never seen Zhuge Mingyang with his own eyes, he had been with Qin Feiyang and the others for so many years. He had also heard of Zhuge Mingyang's situation from them. So that's how it is. It seems that he will be in for a bitter battle, because now he had revealed almost all of his strength. 6 ultimate profundities will of heaven, power of all evil. However, even so, he still couldn't kill Dongping. What does this mean? It means he indeed didn't have the ability to instantly destroy Dongping's body and soul. The most terrifying thing was, for ordinary people, no matter how strong they are, as long as their sea of qi and soul are severely damaged, their combat power will decline. But this Dongping relied on the undying domain. Even if you destroy his sea of qi and soul, he can quickly come back from the dead. In short, all your efforts will be in vain in the end. If one's mind is firm, then it's still fine and won't collapse. But if one's state of mind isn't stable, facing such a situation, one will gradually become discouraged, powerless, desperate, and eventually collapse and give up. So, fighting with someone like Dongping is not only a physical burden, but also a test of one's mental and willpower. Come on. What means do you have? Come at me. Dongping laughed. Madman was silent. If he can't kill him, he will become stronger and stronger instead. This caused him to not dare to act rashly, because the current Dongping must be eager for him to kill him. Why? Don't dare to make a move? Afraid that I will become stronger and stronger? Ha! If you don't make a move, I will. Let's see how long you can last. Dongping laughed wildly. His bloody hair danced in the air like the reincarnation of a demon king. Bang! The next moment, 7 ultimate profound meanings charged at Madman. Madman activated instant time and didn't dare to fight head-on. He kept dodging as he thought of a countermeasure. If you continue like this, you can only take a beating. So you better go all out. Dongping took a step forward. He also mastered the law of time. Instant time was used to the limit as he punched at Madman. Bang! Madman spurted out a mouthful of blood as his face turned pale. His entire body was like a meteorite as he smashed into the ground below. Bastard! This made Madman furious. He leaped up and instantly rushed into the sky. 6 ultimate profound meanings roared out, carrying the power to destroy the world as they charged at Dongping. Yes, that's it. This way I can become stronger. Dongping laughed wildly. He actually took the initiative to face the 6 ultimate profound meanings. With a loud bang, Dongping's body shattered, but the next moment he was reborn. With the activation of the ultimate profound meaning, the power he emitted was almost catching up to Madman. One has to know, the combination of Madman's will of heaven and the power of all evil. How terrifying was that? But now, with just a few serious injuries, The lethality of Dongping's ultimate profound was almost catching up to Madman. Although it was similar to the Undying Demon technique, the entire Undying domain was many times stronger than the Undying Demon technique. Back then, how did you guys kill Zhuge Mingyang? Madman roared. Even with his temperament, he couldn't help but feel upset at this moment. There was no way to continue the fight. Back then, Zhuge Mingyang was killed by Big Cousin. Big Cousin used his overwhelming strength to burn him to ashes. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. That's only possible if you have overwhelming strength. Madman was dumbfounded. The key point was that he didn't have the strength to suppress Dongping. Could it be that he was going to lose here? That would be too shameful. No, if he really lost here, he would definitely be laughed at by the white-eyed wolf. Don't be polite, continue. Dongping laughed maniacally. His strengthened 7 ultimate profound meanings shattered the sky as he charged at Madman. This was forcing Madman to make a move. Chapter 42:28. This is bad. Lunatic is really in danger. In the distance, the king muttered. Yes, who would have thought that Dongping would have such a heaven-defying method? 5 domains, 5 peerless geniuses. Could it be that the 5 peerless geniuses of the Central Dynasty are the owners of the 5 domains? The Divine King was surprised. That's possible. Otherwise, why would these people be so confident in front of Qin Feiyang and the others? The God-sealing domain has the ability to seal divine power, and the power of laws. The Undying domain allows Dongping to have an undying body. If these 2 domains are so powerful, what about the other 3? What kind of heaven-defying power do they have? The human race's supremacy murmured. It was unimaginable. Why were the young people of this generation more and more powerful? Even these people of the older generation couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. Why didn't the ice dragon tell us that there are 5 domains in the world? On the other side, the inner demons turned to look at Lu Jiejin and frowned. Then you'll have to ask him. Speaking of which, we're also responsible. After hiding in the Central Dynasty for so many years, we didn't get such important information. Lu Jiejin sighed. Everyone in the Central Dynasty knew about the 5 peerless geniuses, but only the emperor of the Central Dynasty had seen the 5 peerless geniuses. Of course, the sovereign of the Divine King must have seen them. In fact, Lu Jiejin had been looking for information about the 5 peerless geniuses in the Central Dynasty, but he couldn't find a chance. It could only be said that the emperor was too good at keeping secrets. The inner demons glanced at Dong Xian and the others and frowned. 5 peerless geniuses. Why are there only 4? Where's the other one? Hearing this, Lu Jiejin's heart skipped a beat and quickly looked around. That's right. Where's the other one? It can't be that only 4 came. Could the other one be hiding somewhere and secretly watching the battlefield? On the battlefield, the mad scientist was completely suppressed. His 10,000 feet tall body was covered in blood. The situation he was facing now was that he didn't dare to act rashly, which made him extremely sullen. Don't hesitate. If you don't fight back, you'll die. It wouldn't be worth it to die just like that. Dongping laughed loudly, and his arrogance grew more and more arrogant. That disdainful gaze was as if he was looking at an ant that was constantly struggling to survive. Senior brother, you must calm down, Qin Feiyang muttered. Now was not the time to panic, because once one's mind was in chaos, a disaster would inevitably befall them. But to be honest, even he couldn't think of any way to deal with Dongping. Of course, his own strength was definitely enough. The law of life and death, 6 supreme laws, 2 wills of the heavenly Tao, and 3,000 incarnations. With all these means added together, he could easily kill Dongping, not giving him a chance to be reborn. But now Dongping was no match for him. Qin Feiyang was well aware of the madman's methods. It was almost impossible to defeat Dong Ping unless a miracle or an unforeseen event occurred. In the sky, dark clouds covered the sky. It was like the eve of a storm. After experiencing 2 great battles, the ground here had long been damaged beyond recognition. Do you know what you look like now? Dong Ping laughed out loud and shamelessly humiliated him. Now you're just like a turtle, shrinking your neck and running away like a rat. Trash, like you can only be arrogant in the 4 great continents. If you go to our central dynasty, you're worse than a dog. Hearing this, the madman suddenly raised his head and looked at Dong Ping. A dog should also live with some dignity. But now you don't even have the least bit of dignity. How pitiful. Why don't you wag your tail at me now? Maybe I will be magnanimous and spare your dog life? Dong Ping's face was full of ridicule. He was deliberately angering the madman, because if the madman kept avoiding the battle, it would be quite difficult for him to kill the madman. After all, the madman also had instant time. But if he could anger the madman and make him attack with all his strength, he only needed to be seriously injured once more. Then his 7 ultimate mysteries would be able to compete with the madman's power of all evil and will of the heavenly Tao. In this way, the chances of killing the madman would be greater. He got what he wanted. The madman was completely enraged. Thinking back, when and where had he suffered such humiliation? Boom! The power of the 6 ultimate mysteries, will of the heavenly Tao and all evil seal erupted. A terrifying aura and monstrous fury swept through the world. Not good. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists and was ready to rescue the madman at any time. Yes, that's it. This is the demeanor a man should have. Come, don't hold back and kill me. As long as you can kill me, you will have the ability to sweep through the divine kingdom. Dong Ping laughed wildly and faced the madman's 6 ultimate mysteries. I'll fulfill your wish. The madman laughed. His voice was like a demon from hell, making one's heart involuntarily feel a chill. In the next moment, a bloody wound appeared between his eyebrows. Battle Soul, Blood Eye open. Dong Ping's arrogant attitude suddenly froze. His body, from his feet to his head, began to petrify. That's right. As long as this person is petrified, his undying domain will collapse. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang was shocked. Whether it was the profound laws, battle soul, or domain, they all needed to be controlled by one's consciousness. If Dong Ping was petrified, he would naturally lose consciousness. After losing consciousness, the undying domain would automatically close. Without the undying domain, wouldn't Dong Ping be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered? From this, it could be seen that although the madman was angry, he had not lost his mind. The petrification process was not fast. After all, Dong Ping's strength was right in front of him. However, it was much faster than the white-eyed wolf depriving him of his cultivation and Dharma laws. In a short while, Dong Ping's entire head entered a petrified state. Naive. Right at this moment, Dong Ping's voice could be heard. This was the voice of the divine soul. In other words, although his head was petrified, the divine soul inside had not been petrified. As his voice fell, a mighty force of law surged out and forcefully cut off the madman's petrification. Subsequently, he once again broke through the air and faced the 6 ultimate mysteries. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, Dong Ping's body shattered. Qin Feiyang, the monarch, Lu Jiejin, and the inner demons couldn't help but twitch their eyelids when they saw the scene. In the next moment, Dong Ping was reborn again and said in ecstasy, "The real battle has just begun!" Boom! The 7 ultimate mysteries roared out, emitting a divine aura that was on par with the madman's ultimate mysteries. Come on. You have no choice. Go all out and fight. Dong Ping let out a long roar and charged towards the madman with the 7 ultimate mysteries. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.